This is bad.
The probability of us achieving victory here today is only 3%. That's with me rounding up.
You hear that? Those are runaway numbers.
If we run, there'll be no one left to protect the city. Stand and fight or die. You make the choice.
Apologies. Come on now. Come on now. Get down with it. Let's go. It doesn't want to go now. Work it. Come on, Mike. Work it. Strange. My screen just went blank. Oh, yeah, it comes back. Wow. Crazy. How many of you knew that Infectious Grooves, right? Ozzy Osbourne did some vocals way back in the 90s. I think it was about early 90s with the guys from Suicidal Tendencies, one of my favorite bands growing up as a kid, teenager, 15, 16 years old, skateboarding. You know, there's a song they put out called Skate or Die, right? There's also so many, actually, there's so many cool songs that Suicidal Tendencies put out. But of course, because of that Suicidal Tendencies label, you know, I actually think the Suicidal Tendencies or Testament should have been the big four rather than Anthrax, because I think Testament is a far superior band than Anthrax. But we're not about here talking about that today, but I do want to say rest in peace, Ozzy, and all that, because I know everybody's been like talking about it, and I just wanted to have, you know, just been silent because I just, you know, let it wash over type thing and then deal with it later. Like, you know, it's one of those things. However, today we're going to be looking at some terrible things. It's like a weekly basis, really, if you really think about it. We're going to be looking at China, Communism 101, and how they're killing people outside of their countries with shoddy craftsmanship and stuff that we call that their own people, not us out here in the world, you know, in the West or whatever, outside of China, called tofu drag. If you look up hashtag tofu drag, and I've talked about this before, but if you look up hashtag tofu drag, you'll see every single time anything that's been that has been had a hand from China in it has fallen apart. So you know tofu, right? Like bean curd, and excuse me, I think my knees need to be a bit lower so I don't knock it myself. I've got knee braces on, and I'm just earlier I slammed my left knee, and then my right knee into my left knee when I was trying to tidy up, just arranging the room so I can get some more space to put shit down. So anyway, welcome. As you all know, I am very, 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 very bad at.
When this handsome fellow isn't traveling across the world doing research, he's at home cooking a great meal?
But yeah, that's all true, but...
Sancho, where did you get that? An excellent assistant knows how to write an excellent introduction. You got it, boss.
Or taking a long walk on the beach? Who wrote this mess?
I suck at introductions. It's just been my thing. It's like somebody else always, you know, when I'm like speaking in public and stuff, somebody else goes, this is such and such and blah, blah, blah. He's brainless twit. And now he's going to speak. And I go, hello, let's get on with it. So let's get on with it. Right. Yesterday. Oh yeah, I was talking about tofu drag. So a couple months ago, it might have been even 2 months ago, right? So there was this thing 2 months ago that there was an earthquake in Singapore. Let me just find it. Make sure, where are we? the only building, right? The only building that fell down, right? Here we go. There we go. Bangkok, Thailand, Singapore, Bangkok. We'll find out soon. So let me just check this. I think my VPN is messing around with my delaying everything. But this is very important because the thing about this is, give me 1 sec. Let me put on a little thing to the evil, fight the evil. You know, it's been a while since I've been doing this one. So right, here we go. It's always hard trying to get back into the flow of things when you're doing something else and you do something else, right? And that's something I have a hard time trying to deal with. So let's go. This is it. So this was 3 months ago exactly, right? Singapore, you know, you can't even spit in Singapore, right? You can't put chewing gum on, you know, you can't on the sidewalk, you get fined. That's how clean and full on, very, very protective about the environment culture Singaporeans are, right? There's kind of like on a kilter, and it's like, wait, it's putting me off of my OCD. No, it's got me even worse. Apologies, guys. Like I said, I'm trying to get in the flow of things, and it's not flowing the way I want. But hey, so look at look at that. Just this title here. The only building to collapse in Bangkok's earthquake, right, was built by China. All right, and there's a word, and this is Chinese Observer. This is a Chinese channel, Chinese speaking channel, right? So on March 28th, a 7.8 on the Richter scale. I have no idea how that works. All I know is very bad, right? Magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar with a depth of 30 kilometers. So it's underground, you know, that low, right? So under the ground, you guys know, I'm not that really, you know, geology. I left that way back when I was a teenager. Actually, no, in the primary school, when I used to be into minerals and jams, you know, emerald. And I think it was because after I watched the Emerald City or something like that, or the Emerald Forest, right? It was a big, huge movie about a kid who gets lost, and his white dude gets lost and is brought up by the Mayans and so forth, like in the Amazon. And that sort of got me interested in emeralds and gems. Anyway, that's, you know, and so I just used to look into it and do little school written, you know, projects and stuff. And all that stuff. But anyway, that's how I know about depths and, you know, stuff like that. Anyway, geology, that's what I was trying to say. Geology, that's all I know. That's very limited amount of stuff I know about geology. All I know is that earthquakes are bad, and the lower they are underground, you know, the more effect it spreads out. And I might be even wrong, and who cares, right? We're here to talk about this, about tofu drain. So the tremors quickly spread to nearby areas like Thailand, Bangkok, Thailand, one night in Thailand, one night in Bangkok. Think about that song by Peter Gabriel, One Night in Bangkok. So much, yeah. In China's Yunnan province, about 960 kilometers from the epicenter. So this went out really far away, right? Almost 1,000 kilometers away from where it struck, right? Myanmar, 7.8. Now, a 30-story building under construction in Bangkok, so it wasn't even finished building, which means, you know, that it wasn't completed, but they had put all the special work down, right? All the cement, all the rebar, all the pillars, you know, prepared the ground, man. You know, as I say, you know, your foundation in a house has got to be is the most important thing. So you watch, like, because I've had people who've, like, you know, who've been in construction. People I know are in construction. I've watched foundations being laid. I remember when I was, when I was at film school, I took 2 weeks away, and I went and, I went and helped. Actually, no, it was during my school holidays. I took 2 weeks away, and I laid the foundation down for. Wait, hold on. Yeah, no, actually, it was actually my tutor's husband. Like, I was doing filmmaking, so my American Texan Kansas tutor, Karen Love, Dr. Karen Love, you know, said, "Hey, look, I'm looking to lay down a painter. Do you know anybody who can?" And I said, "Oh, well, I can find you somebody." So I found out. Hey, KSS, happy birthday, brother. And so, I'm, this is my third year of filmmaking course, right? Getting my degree. And so she goes, "Oh, yeah." And so I go, "Hey, I used to sell tiles. I could probably, actually what happened was she asked me, so I went and asked people in my, I used to work at a pub at that time. So while I was working at the pub, I asked the guys around, say, "Hey, look, do you know how to put down paving, right? How do you put down paving?" And one of the guys who's a construction, he goes like, "This is what you do, this is what you'll need," and all that. So I laid down about 15 square meters of paving, right? Bricks, like not, I guess, paving bricks, like cement. So it's like about 50 centimeters by 50 centimeters by 7 to 10 centimeters thick, right? And let me tell you, those freaking things were heavy. And the reason they had to be heavy was because they could drive their car on it, solid blocks. And so the guy, before I got there, so I basically said to my tutor, "Hey, why don't I do it? I'll take, in my school holidays, I take 2 weeks off, I'll do it." I got paid $1,200 for it and a carton of beer. That's how we do things in New Zealand, right? And it was this cash in the pocket. And because the other person said, "Oh, it's going to cost you $5,000, $7,000. I said, "Well, look, this will just help us for a trip to Fiji, my wife and I, at that time, right? This is like 2006. And sure enough, 2005, must have been about 2005, I think. Either or, right? Whatever. So he gave us some money in the pocket. Now, the husband, Dr. Love's husband, Mr. Love, basically got sand. He dug out the thick, like 15 centimeters or 20 centimeters of the ground of the lawn. And what he did was then he like flattened it out. Like he got the machine that go boom, 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 the flat cement pounding, whatever they call it, pounding thing. You just like walk around like this, and it's like this huge, heavy, like, couple of hundred, maybe about 50, maybe about 200 kgs. So it's really heavy because it's got to pound that ground down before you can do anything. So it's solid soil and flattened, so nothing can grow out of it. It's like, it's basically like flattening the freaking pancake, so it's so flat that there's no air in it. And then afterwards, he would lay down the sand, right, and then pound that down again. So when I got there, all I'd have to do is get out the grinder, right, the metal grinder thing with the handheld, and you got to cut off corners and stuff and put it down. It took me 2 weeks of doing that, and I had to go across and lift it up again if it wasn't down, if there was oil, if there was a dip on the foundation, I had to make sure it was level, right? You couldn't have enough for an air bubble, because what would happen was when it, the grass would push up against it, and then you'd have got this, sludgy underneath it, and if they rotted, the pavers would move, right? So the crazy thing was that at the end of it, I couldn't feel my fingers. All my fingers were cut, and like there was just cuts all over it. And for about 3-4 days, it's going back to school, going back to my course as a filmmaking, bachelor's degree. I couldn't use my fingers for ages, like properly. Like I had them taped up, like with those white fabric bandages. So like with a sticky tape on. So I like sticky side and then it's the fabric on the other side, and you just tape it up. And all of them, because they were so hard lifting it up, even with the gloves, you know, it'll cause pain. But I did that for 2 weeks, and my neck and my back was just stressed. You know, at that time I hadn't had my car accident, so it wasn't that much, so I could, you know, handle it. But you know, I learned how to do a new job, which is paving, because I just asked somebody, and I was willing to, you know, go and do the job, because somebody was like, you know, my teachers couldn't afford that on a teacher's income. Come on. You know, was it like $500-600 for 10 to 15 meters of, you know, like it was basically shaped like that, like a kidney. Yeah. So it was perfect. They're just a backyard, and I've got photos of it somewhere. But, you know, that's like 2006, 2005, right? Anyway, like I said, the foundation had to be really good. Now, when you have a friggin' 30-story tall skyscraper, and the builders and the product is shit, there are people that are going to die if they're in that building. And people are dying every day in China, but now it's been exported across the world because of the Belt and Road Initiative. Now, a lot of people go, well, how come I'm not hearing about things around the world? Well, that's because it happens every now and then, or is swept under the rug, and as people are paid off, both locally and in China. So China doesn't report anything to do with anything happening that they're causing outside of China. So the people think they're the greatest people in the world. Everybody's jealous of China. And not only that, hundreds of millions of dollars are going into propaganda. And we're going to look at that soon as well. Because influencers, and I hate that word, and I hate people who are influencers, not hate, you know, not happy with them, let's just say, who basically promote the propaganda because they're paid to. Hey, come over to China, just go here, here, and here, and don't talk about this, 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 and only talk to those people who are trained to lie. And then then go back to America, Britain, Germany, UK, Denmark, France, New Zealand, Australia, Pacific Islands, Africa, and tell them how great a time you had there. They were beautiful people that treated you well because they're the only ones you see. That's like when you go to Fiji and you only stay at the hotels, all you see are the tourists, and all you see are the people who are serving you. You don't see the villagers who live in the shanty homes with tin roofs, leaky, who sometimes have, you know, might have to get water from the freaking ground, from a well, because they're too far away from like the main areas where there is taps that gets you pipes. I mean, the waterworks that gets you water to your home. Hey, you're up in the hills. Well, that's a bit too far away for us to get there. Okay. Or you don't have, you know, plumbing. So you're crapping outside on a dunny, as we call it in New Zealand and Australia, right? The outhouse. Now, nobody sees that part of China. However, there's enough channels out here. China Observer is one of them. There's Decoding China. There's China Insider. There is also there's an American and a South African white dude who used to actually live there for about a decade in China, and they speak the language, they understand, and so they have a channel called the China Show. Right now, we're learning a lot about what's happening in China because of what's happening to us around the world, from how they're treating people in the rest of the world, right? So let's have a look at this one, and then we'll have a look at the others, and then we look at the we'll look at the influencers, because they get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, man. All right, because they do tourism. So hey, why don't you come to China? Here's all expenses paid, and we'll give you couple grand, 120, whatever, 10, 20, 30, 100 grand in your pocket, because you might have the bigger reach than somebody else like me who's talking about China, who tells you the truth, right? Because I want to show you what is actually happening, how many people are dying, because we got a list today. I had to, like last night, I was so pissed off, which is why we're doing this thing today, because like 31 people died yesterday, right? I think it was yesterday or the day before. Let me get back up here. What was the exact day? Bangladesh, right? So it was the 21st, right? So 21st, so 3 days ago for me, right? Basically 3 days ago. Wherever in the world, it's about 3 days ago. So this fighter jet, and we'll get to it, but I just want to give you pre-setup, right? 31 students and teachers, including teachers, died 3 days ago because a Chinese-made fighter jet crashed into, right? We'll look into it in more detail, into a school in Bangladesh. Gone, just like that. Man-made issue, man-made problem, man-made death, caused by shoddy tofu drag shit from out of China. That's 31 people that are gone. They've just been wiped out. Not, we'll look at the other ones who were injured, right? Now, so there's a 30 story building. Lucky enough, right? Nobody was in it because it's still getting built. Or we'll have a look more into it if anybody got injured. Yeah, Lee's pretty good. She basically covers a lot of stuff because she's about this, because out of most of the channels talk about it that she talks about, but she understands the language. See, I don't speak Chinese, right? So, or Mandarin, so I have no clue what they're saying. So I got to take it from what the news is telling me, interpreted by what these channels are telling me. But yeah, she's pretty cool. I subscribe to her, so I subscribe to a lot of channels news-wise because it interests me. The reason why I look at China a lot is because of communism. It's the opposite of what I, as a human being, stand for: democracy, capitalism, free market, right? Freedom of movement, freedom of speech, freedom of choice, all right? Body autonomy, all that. And we learn soon that they have none of that. And then the other side is that the leftist, communist, socialist people always say, well, it's never been done right. Communism has always been done right. It always ends in death. That's the beginning and start and end, like middle and end of communism. There's nothing good about it. There's always death when it comes to communism. Yet ignorant fools who don't study history, Mao, Russia with Lenin, fascism, which is kind of basically the same friggin' thing, with Ceausescu, right? Marx, right? And all that. And who was it? There was one more guy, Ceausescu, Marx. There's someone in not Romania, but like I think it was around there in Europe. Brains aren't getting it. So let's have a look at this thing, right? Imagine that, right? 5 seconds. So this thing it's about 960 kilometers from the epicenter. Like it's 1,000 miles or kilometers away, right? I don't know how much is that in miles. Let me actually get you guys the miles, right? Let me ask ChatGPT so we get the right information. How much is in miles? I had my caps lock on. Oh well, I'm sure we'll be all right. All right, so 960 kilometers in miles, right? That's about 600 miles away from the epicenter, right? That's like so far away. That's like wait. That's almost like the North Island, I think, of New Zealand. That's pretty far away to be hit by to feel the tremors of earthquake. So it was pretty crazy. Like, I think it's about 10 is the worst. So it's like right up there with 7.9. Now, so yeah, there you go. So the building under construction in Bangkok collapsed after 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The whole thing collapsed. You know, they talk about, is it pancaking? Yeah, when, you know, when you get flattened. So here we go. So the scene showed thick smoke and the people were running in panic, trying to escape the chaos. So here we go. Let's get back to the start. Let's get you some video imagery and look at this. And remember, like I said, this is made by China. It's the only building that fell down due to tofu drag. But the crazy thing is what's to come.
On the afternoon of March 28th, a 7.9 magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar with a depth of 30 kilometers. The tremors quickly spread to nearby areas like Thailand and China's Yunnan province. About 960 kilometers from the epicenter, a 30-story building under construction in Bangkok collapsed just 5 seconds after the earthquake. The scene showed thick smoke, and people were running in panic. While the world focused on the strong earthquake in Myanmar, the collapsed building in Bangkok became an unexpected center of attention. It turns out that this building was
pancake, just straight down. It didn't even go to the left or right, which means every level was shoddy. Every single level. That means that every rebar, you know, if you know about construction or if you've ever done building before, there's always this, like, there's 4 little metal pieces that's really thick. You can't even bend it, man. Like, it's just a, you know, that's the strong man, you know, the world's strongest man try to do it. You know, they kind of just get to there and whatever. That's, you know, you just can't do it. Any average person just cannot bend it. I used to play with those when I was a kid back in Fiji, because I used to go, you know, across my aunt's home when I used to go stay with her. There was like a 1, 2, maybe a 4-story block, like apartment buildings were being built at that time, or office, whatever. It's still there, by the way. This is like in 81, right? And we used to go play there, and that's how I know from rebars and stuff. So, you know, and building, and like you see them build slowly because you got to let each level cure, right? Cement, you got to let cement cure. You got to let it dry out. All the water's got to seep out of it. The sun's got to dry it out. It's almost like baking a cake, right? You got to allow it to bake. The chemicals have to react and act together to solidify. Now, I've also worked with cement, like my parents' home, you know, I mean, this is only a couple of years ago. We were building like building a chicken fence, right? We call it chicken fence in New Zealand, where you build a little house for the chickens, right? So they can lay eggs and run around. So Dad and I, we went and we got about 2 bags of cement, pre-made, you know, cement. So it has little pebbles in it and stuff, and the cement process, or, you know, the little powder, and then you have the sand in there as well. And so what you do is you dig a hole, you put your friggin' wooden pole in that hole, and you hold on to it, or you have something, you know, tie something to it so stay straight. Little pegs, you know, whatever, strings, and you just have other 2 little stands on the side. So there's like, this is your pole there, but there's 2 little poles on the side, just so it doesn't move around, because if it moves around and the cement saddles, you're screwed, right? So I'm mixing it all up, and I think basically mixing it all up in our little bucket or something, and then we pour it in. And then there's other ones where you can use, where it's like, all you got to do is put it in there, like you put rocks down first, right? And we got volcanic rocks where my dad, you know, my family lives, so we put like little bits of volcanic rock down to give it a huge, you know, strong foundation. And so when you pour in the cement, it seeps into all the little cracks that are left there by the rocks, right, in between, wedges it through. And so Then you put in like your water. You pour in your water and you push in with like a stick or a metal thing to like make sure it all mixes in. Now, if you do, and then you don't just go suddenly start building. You got to leave it to just cure. Right? It's a special thing. You got to let cement cure. Might even be for a day or a week, depends on how much, or hours, depending on how hot a day it is and how big amount of cement that you use. And for building, weeks, right? Because you got thick. And not only that, like I said, with the padding down, you got to make sure the foundation is the most important thing, right? So to see this thing come down like that, every level, right? Every level coming down. Let me just do this thing so we can go through this. So you can see here, right? Watch this. You see that? Every level. Breakage is there. 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 And not even mentioning the ones all at the top here. Look, you can see it. Every level. It's worse than, Lego connects better than this shit. All right. And you got all these people around running for their lives. These people, the Chinese do not care about human life. They don't even care about their own people. Why would they care about you or I around the world? All right. And this is the thing, like there's, as you guys know that EV, we've talked about EV vehicles a couple of weeks, last time I was on and previously, I guess. If I were you, for your own health and safety, for you and your family and your friends, stay away from Chinese-made EV vehicles and scooters and bikes. Just stay away from them. You see it there? Like when you're walking down a dark alley, you see a stranger there, walk the other way. Honestly. Just run the other way. Just get the hell away from them because they basically now combust on their own. And once those things start firing up, right? Once they ignite, you cannot put them out. You just can't. So they'll just keep burning. Right. And we'll look at that later, but next time. But it's the craziest thing, man. Like people will, we're talking about electric vehicle graveyards like about 3-4 years ago, and everybody was laughing, went, no, dude, this is, and they go, oh, no, you just, electric vehicles, bro. You just don't understand. It's like, yeah, I don't understand. But I do know this, that gas cars have been around for decades. And they don't just ignite. Unless something crashes into them or something really, they're so well built because they've tested the R&D, the research and development that's been gone into them for decades, right? And here you got in 5 years, they've got hundreds of thousands and millions of Chinese-built cars around the world because they're cheap, because they're competing with BMW, Tesla, people who have actually spent hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in research and development to make sure their cars are safe because they know in the West, if something happens, you're screwed. In China, if something happens, you're what? Who cares? Move on. So yeah, so this is what happened with this building.
Buildings constructed.
Oh, what do you do to me? Did I press the wrong thing again? Apologies, guys. I'm just having a problem with my window here, or tabs. Here we go. Are you gonna? All right. Let's get to where I need to get to. Here we go.
An expected center of attention. It turns out that this building was constructed by China Railway 10th Bureau, CR10, a Chinese company. It was called a Chinese Overseas Construction Showcase. Now it seems to be another powerful example of the Chinese Communist Party's shoddy construction projects being exported abroad. No wonder some people said that while an earthquake is a natural disaster and a human tragedy, it's almost comical that only buildings constructed by Chinese companies collapsed in the quake. According to local media, the collapse of the building killed at least 3 people and left 81 missing. The Thai National Emergency Medical Center reported on
3 people died, 81 missing, which means they basically, they're gone, right? Puddles. So imagine having a building next to you, whatever, house, skyscraper in your city, in your town, a stadium, as we will find out soon, a mall, and it falls apart with people inside it. Are you just going to are you going to be okay with that? Because here's the thing, China's okay with that. And that's the problem, right? If you have a country that doesn't care about their own people, why would they care about you? And I'm talking about the CCP, right? The elite, everyone and anybody above the worker level that isn't connected to the government in every facet of the way, like civil servants upwards, right? The police, all that, your councilman, even your local, mayor, your local, I say, head of, committee, whatever. You got a little town hall. You got a school. Well, the principal's connected. So if kids die at the school, well, he's fine. And there's been a lot of that as well. So everything I'm talking about here, I'm talking about things that I've seen, right? A couple of weeks ago, they had a breakout about, I think about 200 or 300 little children, kindergarten children, were poisoned with lead in China. Huge issue, right? They end up in hospital. These little kids, their bodies aren't even ready to handle lead. They've got something like about 400% in their body. Because the teachers wanted to make their vegetables and fruit look more attractive to the kids so they would eat it. So they painted it with food dye with lead in it. If that happened in New Zealand, it will be an uproar. Every level would be in trouble. Because we're in the West, we're democratic, we have freedoms, we have law and order. And when we don't, that's when we got to go, hold on, I have rights. But in China, they don't have rights. Because, hey, they can't even fight for their rights, because when they do, the police turn up and go, hose them down with pepper spray, right? Or take them away and to disappear. If you're a leader, you organized the protest about this, about your son dying? Oh, your brother died. He just died at work out of the blue, and something happened, and now you're protesting and wanting to find out why. Well, come along now. Let's get to the paddy wagon and bye. Communism. And this is why, like I said, this is why I talk about communism, because it's the opposite of what we in the West value the most. Human rights, human life, right?
Facebook that around 320 people were on the construction site when the building collapsed. 20 people.
That's crazy, right?
The Thai National Emergency Medical Center reported on Facebook that around 320.
There was 320 people. That's why 81 disappeared, because they didn't get away. 3 died. But what happened to the 81? 320 were there working.
20 people were on the construction site when the building collapsed. 20 people were trapped in the elevator shaft. 50 people were injured in the earthquake, with 40 of them being sent to hospitals. The collapsed building was meant to be the new office building for Thailand's Office of the Auditor General.
This is a friggin' council building, right? This is actually supposed to be a government building. Imagine it. It's not just some private sector. Joe Blogg is putting up a skyscraper, selling apartments, and a lower level is going to have some shops in it, and because I used to live in there, that's what I'm trying to imagine, like the situation there. And downstairs there'll be parking areas. It'll be all electronic controlled, right? No, this is a freaking government building.
It was located in the Chatuchak district of Bangkok. The total budget for the building was 2.1 billion Thai baht.
Now, I'm trying to wonder. Well, let's find out where that money came from.
or around 62 million US dollars.
Holy! This was not cheap. Yeah, that's not cheap, right? $62 million. 30-story skyscraper. Now, let me just get the dollars and cents in New Zealand, right? Because usually it's about 1.6 times New Zealand dollars, right? Where's my calculator? Currency exchange. Jeez. Cereal, right? So let's get that to America. USA. Should be USD. All right, give me USD. 62 million. Wait, wrong one. 0, 0, 0, 0. It's like 62 plus 6 zeros, right? I think it's 6 zeros. Let's try that. Oh, yeah, it is. So what is that? That's $100 million New Zealand. $100 million New Zealand. KSS is saying, damn, RIP to those that passed. That's what I mean. Like, there's 3 people are dead. 81, no idea. 320 were working on the site, right? Yeah, so less people were killed by the earthquake than people in the Chinese-made building. Shaking my head. Exactly. So that 62 million was a budget, but how much of that actually went to the actual construction? Exactly. Usually burn about 10%. 10 to 20, 15% usually ends up actually to build the building, because every level of anything that China's involved in is corrupt. Every level. So you got to pay the council people. Yep. You got to pay the, signatories. You got to pay the land people. You got to pay whoever. Everybody gets their hands waxed, right? And they found that out. There was like that there was $100 million, which is basically this one here in New Zealand, but there was $100 million US where they ended up finding out there was like about something like about 10 to 15 million that actually went to building their building for construction work. So yeah, so New Zealand dollars, $100 million for 30-story building that fell down in 5 seconds. $30-story. Did I say million? 30-story building, sorry. All right, let's get on with this.
It was being built by a joint venture between China Railway 10th Bureau Thailand Company Limited and Italy's Italian Development Company Limited. The building was designed to be 100.
So, Italy and China. But guess who provides all the items? China. So now, the only people who are going to be able to take responsibility, because China's run away, and you'll see soon, with all the information, with all the paperwork. But so Italy is now going to be, Thailand's going to chase after Italy for compensation for return of the $60 million US. Because that's taxpayer money, because this is a government building that they were building. And this is why I think any country that is now signing up in the West to China, they're basically betraying their people. 100%. I stand by that. Anybody that is allowing China to build their infrastructure, roads, bridges, buildings, skyscrapers, stadiums, whatever, you're just signing your people up for death and accidents just down the road, right? So if if that happens and you guys find out, as if China's involved, then you hit up your senators, councillors, your mayors, whatever, your government, because they are getting into bed with China. Cook Islands got into bed with China. Cook Islands here in New Zealand, right? And now they're coming begging for New Zealand for help. But they didn't come to New Zealand for help before they went to China and signed up with China. But now they coming to us for New Zealand. This is our Pacific neighbors. Fiji's done the same thing. Their government is so quick to run ahead of everybody else in the Pacific. They don't want to deal with Australia and New Zealand. They've had some bad experiences, especially with Australia. When it comes to infrastructure building, there's a guy that ran away with $80 million of taxpayer funds. I actually know it was union funds, workers' union funds that invested in help making this hotel there, which is kind of why the coup happened. Not coup. No, it wasn't. I wouldn't say coup. Like a takeover of the government by Bainimarama in 2005. Because these two people from Australia basically did a dine and dash with $80 million of Fiji money. So when corruption like that happens, and you see your neighbors are not, stabbing you in the back like that to your own people, well, you're going to look elsewhere. And China has a great way of wheeling themselves in, going, oh, colonialism was so bad, wasn't it? They're bad. All these hundreds of years of you guys having to deal with that and all that. Hey, but here's the thing. If the Europeans didn't arrive in the islands, most of them would be dead. Most of them would be eaten. Most of them wouldn't have a line or lineage. Their parents, grandparents, children would be eaten, and they'll be gone because food was scarce. Fiji was out there hunting long pig. New Zealand, Maori were hunting long pig. They basically wiped out the previous people that lived here for food when they arrived. So, and then they were turning on each other, just like in Africa, right? Got rid of the white people. Okay, now let's get at each other's necks. And they are. And China's providing the weapons for that, as we saw. Yeah. Sign up. Oh, yeah, you got minerals? Okay, we'll take those minerals, sign it up. Okay, now here's some weapons. Go kill each other. We got the paperwork. It's our land now. Because that village that they used to own that is dead. The chief is dead. The chief's family is dead, so nobody can claim that land because it's been signed off to China. See, the ignorance of people who think they're smart. See, Africans in Pacific Islanders, they think they're smart because if somebody comes with your money, you go, oh yeah, bro, I'll take the money. They don't realize all the ties to it. In the West, you can chase the paperwork up. Right? Sometimes it might get between the cracks, but yeah, you can still chase the paperwork up. And even if it's hidden, yeah, you can find out. With China, forget it.
And 37 meters tall, and construction started in 2020. Land Company Limited and Italy's Italian Development Company Limited. The building was designed to be 137 meters tall, and construction started in 2020. Work was paused due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but the main structure was completed by March 31st, 2024. This 30-story...
So last year, all right? So the main structure was completed last year. Look at the thickness of all this. And like I said about the whole cement, right, earlier on about curing and all that, these are prefabricated blocks, right, wall blocks. So they're not made on site. They're actually brought in, which means this was pre-made, prefabricated from elsewhere, brought in with the ships, right, on trucks, and now it's here. So where did it come from? Well, it definitely wasn't from friggin' Thailand. It wasn't from Italy. It was from China. Everything in there is shoddy. The rebars you can break with your hands. I've seen them. I've seen Chinese workers on construction going, this is breaking. What is this? It's like tin. You can bend it. right? Like a tin can, like, you know, when you take the lid off and you can just band it back in. That, like that.
Building used a unique core tube plus beamless floor structural system, a design that previously caused major safety concerns in Miami.
It had already caused problems. Core tube. So there's holes through this thing. Remember how I showed you how like every level went down and you could see the little you know, like bends in every little thing. So look at this rebars, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is what a rebar looks like. This is the most important thing next to the sand, next to the cement. The most important thing. It's the frame that the cement just doesn't crumble away, right? It solidifies and sticks to the rebar, and the rebar's got these ridges around it so that it doesn't like just goes up and down, you know, so it doesn't just slide off. There's a ridge around it, right? Little, you know, like a spring around, you know, if you put a spring around my hand, you see all the little ridges there.
Miami, Florida. Experts say that while this system offers high that previously caused.
So, and here's what I'm talking about, like elsewhere, right? So this is talking about Miami, Florida. So this is already known to cause problems. This shit they're using here, that China built in Bangkok, Thailand, it's already caused problems.
Major safety concerns in Miami, Florida. Experts say that while this system offers high space efficiency, it poses special challenges for earthquake resistance. The collapse of a condominium in Miami in 2021, which resulted in 98 casualties, was caused by similar beamless floor systems that failed during a strong earthquake. When the earthquake happened, Chinese authorities.
So yeah, like I said, around the world, yeah. You know, Belt and Road, death around the world by China.
Reported that the construction progress was only 30%, which contradicted earlier statements that the building had been topped out. It's worth noting that the China Railway 10th Bureau celebrated the completion of the main structure in April 2024. However, after the incident, they immediately deleted the related article.
And this is how propaganda works, right? You can only hear about the good stuff. So as I mentioned, they always like get rid of the, you know, whenever something bad comes out, they get rid of it, right? Propaganda is always about puffing up the, you know, this is us. We are doing this everywhere, right? Look at how great we are.
Celebrated the completion of the main structure in April 2024. It's worth noting that the China Railway 10th Bureau celebrated the completion of the main structure in April 2024. However, after the incident, they immediately deleted the related article. If the structure had truly topped out in April 2024, then by March 2025, the building should not have only reached 30% completion. One possibility is that the topping out.
Look at the holes in that shit. Would you trust a floor with holes in it like that? That like all the way through, and look at how thin that is, man. It's like core flute. I actually cut up some core flute, right? If you let me hold on. Let me just show you what core flute is. Right. So this is plastic. It can also it's, you know, this is what we call like plastic core flute. You can also get, you know, cardboard, whatever. Basically, your cardboard has a similar build, but this is like the plastic thing. So that's basically that. You can see how it can bend, right? Pressure. Imagine the concrete doing that under massive stress, you know. But look at how thin that is, man. That's that guy's finger thin. Right? Even with the gloves on, it's like thinner than the glove. It's like, dude, it's like, this is like willful negligence, right? It's not like, oh, I don't know, whatever, but this is like material being used on purpose, knowing that it doesn't work and has caused accidents. 91 people died in Florida. Did those 91 people's family get some recompense? Like, you know, find out what happened and why it happened?
referred only to the core tube or part of the structure reaching the top, not the completion of all floors. Another possibility is that the promotion exaggerated the actual progress. The removal of the celebratory article by
Look at
China
what it
Rail
looks like. This is a friggin' 30-story building built by China. This is just a pile of rubbish. It's just a concrete dust pile. Seriously. Look at the building next to it. That hasn't even been flattened. And this is just 5 seconds this went down.
Railway 10th Bureau has been interpreted as a sign of guilt. There are also questions about whether the collapse of the Thai Auditor General's building was related to its construction phase and the quality of the design and construction. Were the concrete strength standards met?
Look at that. That car park basically looks like a car park. It's just still standing right next to it. Same earthquake. This only building built by China went down. Only building went down and built by China. 3 dead, 81 missing. March this year.
Was the steel reinforcement properly arranged? With only 30% of the construction completed, the earthquake resistance system was not yet fully formed, yet they were calling it topped out. The Thai government has declared a state of emergency, and the subsequent investigation may focus on the rationality of the design, construction execution, and management coordination. If it is found that the Chinese company made significant mistakes, it will not only face financial compensation, but also damage its reputation in the Southeast Asian market. As of now,
Who gives a fuck about their reputation? They basically murdered 3 people and possibly 81 others. See, this is a problem when you deal with China. They care more about their reputation than people's lives. So, yeah, sign up. Be a moron and sign up for China. Chinese buildings, Chinese infrastructure, take their money. Especially, by the way, South America right now. They keep taking all their friggin' bullshit goods now. Goods that aren't allowed in Europe and aren't allowed right now in America are ending up in container loads in South America. The EVs are ending up there. So, one thing that people don't realize when material is like clothing and everything's cheap, what happens is they start paying you less. Because of course you can buy a couple, you don't need all that money for your wages, right? Because look, everything's cheaper, food's cheaper, right? So when food is high, the government raises the wages and says, hey, you need more money. But the moment it goes cheaper, they go, oh, you're going to have less money, right? But they can't go back on wages. So the thing is to keep the economy, keep wages low by bringing in migrants who will work for less work. Right? Who will work for less money. Right? And so illegal migrants actually make it worse. Right? Which means why a lot of people lose their jobs who have been working for decades in something, they'll end up, we'll just hire Enrique, right? Or Chafong, all right? Or Mr. Singh, right? Or Mr. Khan. Or Abele from Africa or Tunisia. Because, hey, he's got no rights. Who's he going to tell him if he's getting exploited, if he's only getting $6 an hour when we should be paying $20 an hour? I've seen it. It's crazy. Right? In the West, we call it exploitation. Right? But then the government doesn't turn around and go, we don't want illegals in our country until it's too late.
China Railway 10th Bureau has not made an official response to the incident. According to publicly available information, high-rise buildings in Thailand must meet a seismic resistance requirement for magnitude 8 earthquakes, but the earthquake in Myanmar was 7.9, clearly indicating that the building's earthquake resistance was insufficient. Comments from Thai netizens on social media reflect widespread dissatisfaction. They said, "Chinese construction quality is a joke. Chinese companies boast about their technological superiority, but who can still trust such quality? The only building that collapsed was built by a Chinese company. How ironic." This incident has also sparked heated discussions among Chinese netizens. The former editor-in-chief of Global Times, Hu Xijing, exclaimed, "This is the most tragic scene of a building collapsing from an earthquake I've ever seen in real-time news." China Railway 10th Bureau, one of the representatives of China's infrastructure expansion abroad, has undertaken numerous projects in countries along the Belt and Road Initiative in recent years. The collapse of the Bangkok building is not an isolated case. Chinese companies have also faced controversies over engineering quality or management issues in Africa and Southeast Asia. For example,
I didn't say, right? I mean, I've been looking at this for about 2 years now. It's not getting better. It's never going to get better. The only thing you can do is cut them off, right? Stop them, right? Make sure that you have policies in place that you're not your councillors, your senators, your mayors, your prime ministers aren't getting their hands waxed or greased, by Chinese dollars. They got caught in Australia. Right, one dude got caught in Australia. I'm just thinking, like, how long before we start seeing that in New Zealand? I wonder how many Chinese are behind, like, trying to cause discord in New Zealand by trying to cause division between the Maori and everybody else. Because all of a sudden it's like colonialism is bad. It's all this. The white people are all bad in New Zealand right now. Oh, we need two systems now. We need one for the Maori and we need one for everybody else. Why is that all of a sudden? Well, there's something going on around the world called illegal migrancy and Chinese spying, police, money changing hands, right? Oh, actually, I'll speak about that another time because it had to do with education. So we'll leave this one with the earthquakes.
The Kenya Railway project faced criticism for delays, and the Indonesian high-speed rail project became a focal point due to budget overruns and progress issues. From the Indonesian Jakarta-Bandung high-speed rail's cost overruns and delays to the collapse of the Laos Hydro Power Station and the Kenya Railway's operational...
See that? Laos hydropower station. Basically wiped out the entire area. Let me find a bit more about that. Let me keep that going while I type in this. I'm pretty slow when it comes to typing, so let's watch.
Of the Laos Hydro Power Station and the Kenya Railway's operational losses, all these cases expose the fatal flaws of Chinese companies in their international expansion. They emphasize speed over quality and publicity over responsibility. The significance of the Bangkok incident is particularly striking. It is the first super high-rise building built by a Chinese company overseas, yet it collapsed in just 5 seconds. This incident directly challenges the image of China's infrastructure being far ahead. This incident is not only an engineering disaster, but also a setback for the international image of Chinese infrastructure. Following the strong earthquake in Myanmar, several regions have declared a national state of emergency. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the earthquake occurred at 12:50 p.m. local time on March 28th, with a magnitude of 7.7 on the Richter scale. The epicenter was located 16 kilometers northwest of the city of Sagaing, near Myanmar's second-largest city, Mandalay, and about 100 kilometers from the capital, Naypyidaw. The earthquake's depth was...
Okay, I'm just going to switch gears here for a minute. Yeah, basically... Yeah, it's on number 6 railway, or number 5, or number 2, number 3, right? Now, let me switch gear to the Laos one, because that's, you guys saw what that looked like, all right? Where are you, buddy? Hold on. Where'd I go? It was here. Let's play this. I think.
Indonesia and Jakarta Bandung high-speed rails cost overruns and delays to the collapse of the
There we go. Look at that. You know, these people aren't rich, right? If this goes, how are they going to build again? It'll be like years before they can get back on their feet again. These are farmers, right? Fishermen. Entire area underwater. Now, okay, so this happened on 2018, right? The Saddle Dam D. Okay. Now, I'm going to do a little little YouTube search for a minute here and see if I can bring up any more visuals than just that image there, right? That little clip there. Because this is just, seriously, this is just crazy, man. Like, all right, so there's like, let me see, here we go. All right, that's not English. Give me English. There's like, hold on. Let me see if this is it. Hold on, this might be what, but like it's about just a 30-second thing. Get rid of that, bring that off, stop that stream, bring me new screen. Dam collapse on the Zipian River, right? This is it here. Shit. These people are just fucking terrible people, man. Honestly, like, it boggles the mind. This is communism. This is the left touting, how leftists tout about how, oh, we just don't have enough. The Antifa fuckheads, you know, the ones who like, you know, who the celebrities who talk about how socialism is the best and the influences is the best thing for humanity, you know. But really, you know, is it really? Because I'm just presenting you death, right? And despair and desperation and ruination of lives and livelihoods and future.
Next.
They really do
Next
exist.
presentation, please.
Come on, Sancho. Let's get out of here.
This. The cost of doing business with China. 13,000. This happened 7 years ago. 13,000. "13 villages were affected." This is about salination, by the way. If it was, you know, I guess salination being salt water, right? So if there was, and this is the other thing, if there was any salt water, actually 6 years ago, right? If there was any salt water that crashed in it, what that does to plants, it rots them. It ruins the soil. It like basically it's like salting the earth. You know, like if you look back, Rome, right? The Romans, when they fought the Maccabees in Israel, right? And what Rome did was they basically went in and salted the earth. So for you know, hundreds of years, if not thousands, nothing grew there. The lush place, greenery went from that to just desert. And so what happens is that Israel was able to bring in water. I mean, is the only one that's so like if you really look through it, Israel's very close to the water, to the sea. Is it Mediterranean Sea? I think it's Mediterranean Sea. So they were able to bring in water, right, using tunnels and all that, pipes into the inland and start growing olives and everything else they need to do, fruit and whatever. And then there's a time where they offered it to, I think it was Syria or Libya, the water. They said, hey, why don't we do underground pipes to you guys so you guys can have water too? And they said, no. I think it was either them or Iran. I can't remember. But yeah, because without water in the desert, you're dead. But the other thing about water is when you have so much of it on soil, topsoil, it all gets washed away and all you got left is clay underneath. So you'll end up somewhere kilometers down the road where there will be like piles of soil, like tons and tons of topsoil, right? Because I'm gardening, right? So I've just, I know you got to have topsoil. I've got, about, I don't know, 7, 8 freaking big barrels of soil, even soil that I've actually paid money for, like $20 $10, $15, whatever, for a 20-liter bag of soil. 20 kg bag, sorry, I should say, because of the weight. I think it's about 10 pounds or something like that. Pretty heavy. And so you got to have that soil to grow your fruit in. Like I was eating some raspberries that I grew this morning, like a handful, about 5 or 6, And what happens with soil is when water comes in and wash it all away, all the grass, all the plants, it exposes, it gets rid of all the good stuff. And it also takes forever to get it all back because now you got to go find where the soil went and bring it back in if it's already left, right? If it's been wiped out. So underneath the topsoil, there's also usually about clay or whatever. There's another, there's other levels there, but there's usually clay, right? And that's waterlogged. So you can't grow anything in clay. I come from a farming background. Like in Fiji, you just farm, right? You grow your rice, you grow your sugarcane, you grow your beans. So I'm always, green thumb, right? I actually put down some potatoes, by the way, Peruvian potatoes. So they're like white, they're like pink on the outside, like the skin, and they're purple on the outside, and then purple on the inside. So their streaks are red and stuff like that. It's just really interesting to gourmet, what they call gourmet, but really it's Peruvian, And here in New Zealand, we call them Maori potatoes, brought over by the indigenous, right? So all that food, all the seeds you planted, all the plants that were growing in season, all that are coming up, gone. See that? Nothing there. As if the tree's way, 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 way out. So what that tells me is that this is farmland. Because there's no houses there. This is farmland. This is food-producing land. And these are villages, which means these are villages who have cattle, right? Chicken, maybe some goat. I'm not sure if they allow us as sheep, but I know we have millions of sheep. There's like 5 for every single person who's in, right? But they have chicken, ducks, right? All the animals, all the animal life is gone. So now that is pollution. So that's why they say 13,000 people are affected. It's 13 villages, right? And now they got monsoon season, which means the downpour of rain. It's crazy. When I was about 13, 14 years old, we learned about monsoon at middle school. I reckon, compared to America, Northern middle school, 13, 14-year-old, and learn about how there's seasons in India, and there's types of fish that actually go to sleep, hibernate under the mud. And then when the rain comes and washes them to the top. Washes away the mud, and now they are able to live again. Crazy shit. Nature's crazy. That's all like growing stuff, because it just reminds me that like when you look after nature, it looks after you, right? Raspberries, you know, grew it about 2 years ago. I'm still friggin', or was it, bro, it's maybe 18 months ago, and I'm still getting fruit. That's what I'm talking about. These are not rich people. These are villagers, right? Oh, let's go there. Look at that. Americans will remember this because of when the dam broke, right? When the levees broke. And where's that place? Oh, okay. It says if you're still here, what's that place? Yeah, 1300 lives, 30,000 meaningless, right? Exactly. Well, what's that place down south when the dam broke? I think it was like 2007, 8. Starts with that. Oh, it starts. Yeah, New Orleans. Yeah, yeah. Basically the same thing. I mean, that was natural. I mean, that was like, you know, not semi-natural, I guess. That was 2005. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that because I was thinking like, yeah, it was about the time that I was at, you know, that was my second year of film school. So that's kind of what I kind of remember that because, you know, like I said, we have an American, you know, I had had two American teachers. One was the editor who worked on Good Will Hunting. And of course, the other one's Dr. Karen Love, PhD, doctorate. But look at that, man. The carport gone. Look at it's all washed out. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not pointing at my screen rather than pointing at this screen. So it's all washed out. Look at how high the water is at. There's a water line. There's the lucky ones, right? There's all the soil dumped on top of the topsoil. There's all this, it's almost like silage, right? Dumped on top of the topsoil. So you got to get rid of that. Or you got to wait for the seeds in the ground, the grass seeds, whatever, they grow back up. Unless this stuff ends up rotting it. It's crazy, right? To learn about how water ruins, like too much water ruins nature, right? Especially this way. See, look at that. These old grass, they're dead. They'll be like rotting, and then you got to wait for it to be able to grow again, and that's months, right? If not weeks, months, and then you still got to wait for the freaking water to reside. Look at that! Wow. Hold on. There, like I said, these are poor people. These are villagers. When you hear the word villages, it's poverty. Right? They're not poverty, but lower economic people, right? These are farmers. These are hardworking land, you know, people who live off the land, who provide food. You remember, like, the Antifa crowd, or the idiots who try to grow tomato during the Summer of Love, right? The morons who thought they could grow tomato and it'll grow like within days. So they planted the seed and they're waiting for this tomato to grow, not realizing that you're from the town, you have no idea. And you ever lived in a farm. And I was like watching this going, fucking morons. Have never actually been to a farm to see how long and how hard farmers, you know, up at dawn, back home at dusk. Right? How much stress they go through to make sure that the freaking, you know, maybe this season will work. Maybe this season we'll have good sun, we'll get good water, good rain. We got enough to harvest. Got to pay the workers to come and harvest if we're a good yield. Oh, I can't pay the workers because we had a big yield. None of these fucking morons in the cities know about anything about farming. But they thought, oh, we'll grow the seed and put it there, it'll grow up overnight. It's not fucking magic beans. You leftist morons. Oh, we're going to build a tent city. in this park, and now we're going to, and of course they left rubbish behind because they always do. They never pick up after themselves. So look at this. This is all somebody else's property, right? Somebody else's shanty. When I talk about like poor and property, I don't mean that in a derogatory term. I come from a village, right? But the fact is, this is not people, with money to waste, right? So you got roofs, walls, like tin roofs, tin walls, because I come from a village, so like our house has tin walls and tin roofs. Until recently, working hard, you pay, put up cement walls and stuff over time. So, you got trees here. Look at that. That thing's in the way, but like, yeah, there's tree here, right? That's been pulled up from the roots. Look at all that. Right. So this is actually a children's, SOS children's villages, right? That's what that's from. Now, there is, oh, that's cool. So this is actually China Morning reporting, right? Let's see what they're saying. So Monday, 23rd, the hell's that? What was that, like 2016? What year was that? Hold on, let me get my date right. 2018. Yeah, so 2018. Right, so 2018, July 23rd. So a year ago this month. 6 years ago this month. Today, this week. Look at this. Those were houses, by the way. That's the foundation of the homes. Just gone. Looks like a two-story home there. Water still hasn't receded. Right, it's almost to the level of the 8 p.m. So there was at night. These guys were sleeping in their bed, man. This is the worst thing. Like, okay, in the daytime, you go, oh, it's coming, let's run. When you're sleeping in bed at 8 p.m., the kids are in bed, right? Baby's sleeping, Grandma's, probably taking an early night. Right? And like, and like Casey said, to them, life is meaningless. 30,000, nothing. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So city slickers know shit about farming or living off the land. They have never done it. Right? That's why I always, everywhere I move to, I try to, if I've got any space, I try to grow something, because I just find like it's when you look out your window, and I'm on a second floor, right? And I look out on the window and there is tree, like plants. There's a raspberry bush just straight outside my door. I can look out and go, is that one right? Okay, I'll pick some up, right? And I'll go wash it and I'll eat it. I grew it. It gives me a bit of confidence. What is it? Like, I don't know, self-worth. I don't know, something. Because I can just like grab it. There's also broccoli growing there. I haven't had good thing with the broccoli, but there's potatoes growing there. There is lemongrass. I can make tea with lemongrass. There's also apple mint growing because I grew it. And here's the thing, that sort of stuff was dying. I got them for $1 each because they were like drying out. And so I went and go, okay, I'll pick up, I'll buy the cheap stuff that's almost dying, and I'll bring it home and I'll look after it and I'll plant it. So I bought a whole bunch of herbs that were actually like on the like clearance freaking area, because they were just on their way to dying. So I planted those, and now they're like freaking huge. They're like freaking meter high, half a meter high, right? My grass, my lemongrass is like, shit, is it almost 3 meters high? I can chop up their lemongrass leaves and make tea with honey in it. And I have. And if I want to make it a bit of minty flavor, I'll pick up some apple mint, right? And I'll put that in there. I've got flat parsley and I've got the normal average parsley. They call it Italian parsley, right? I can put that on my friggin' plants, on my salad, or in my in my stew or whatever, right? The potatoes I just started growing in a sack with soil I bought, in the same sack, right? This basically, I got a sack and I took some soil and put it in another bucket to grow these three, because I have a little compost, like about big, I don't know, hold on, let me see, about this big, like a 40-liter bin, laundry bin, plastic, that I put holes underneath, drilled holes underneath, that I use as a compost. So what I've been doing is, like, anything that, like fruit gets rotten, or kitchen waste, or in this case, avocados from my mom's tree back up north. She's got a huge tree. And so I just chucked the avocado seeds in there and the compost. A couple of months later, you got a freaking, what is that, like 25 centimeter little, 20 centimeter little plant shooting up. So I grab those three and I get a paint bucket. It's about, I think it's about 20 liter or something, that I found on the side of a road, by the way, that I put holes on the bottom of, and I put the soil that I bought in it. And then so 2/3 of the soil went into the bucket and 1/3 of the soil is left. So I went and put these other potatoes, right? Maori potatoes. We've got indigenous Peruvian potatoes, little freaking black things, and white ones, but these ones are black ones, that my mom grows. And she knows I love them, so she brings them up every time she harvests them. So I put a whole bunch in my stew the other week, and then a couple of them, like 3 or 4, were like shooting up. The eyes started going, right. And so what I did was I went and put it into the same sack, the plastic sack that the soil came in. So I didn't have to take any more soil out. I just like took the 2/3 out for the avocado in the bucket. Now they're growing about this high. And I want to grow them as miniature trees, like in the sense, like I'll just keep them low, like small, so that, because I don't have room on my balcony for them to grow big. So, and I don't need them to be big. I just want them to just be there, right? And so I've put those, the ones that were, what we call, like, the shoots were coming out of the potatoes, the black ones, and now they're growing. They're about this tall, like, what's that, like about 40 centimeters tall, just coming out of the sack. So the sack is like about this wide. I mean, this high. Soil's about this much, yeah. And then the actual plants now, because I planted them when they were like just little bits and buds coming out, is about this tall. So which means it's about 50 meters from the bottom to 50 meters tall in the last couple of weeks. And that's sitting on my balcony facing the sun. All right. So, a lot of people in the cities don't know how things grow. And when you look at that, you realize, that image in front of you, this is 13,000 human beings who have had their lives ruined by China. Their livelihoods. It will take months, years to recuperate, regrow the land, right? To be able to plant again. Yeah, and here's the other thing, right? I was talking about how, like, anywhere you go where there's leftists, there was they don't pick up after themselves, like the rubbish and stuff, like pride events. They don't pick up after themselves. Somebody else has to go pick it up, right? They don't take their rubbish and put it in their pocket and take it home, or take a little bag that they can put their rubbish into, And there was last year there was a huge concert. Some leftist concert, right? Music concert. And they found the whole place was just littered with garbage afterwards. Just, yeah. And that's it. Because the thing about leftism is that they feel like everybody should own everything. But they don't think about, like, when you don't own everything, or when you don't own your area, you don't really care for it. See, like, value is like ownership, right? When they're your kids, you're more precious about them. When they're not your kids, you just fucking tell them whatever you want. That's why you see in the schools, right? They just tell them whatever, they try to, oh, you're such and such. Or you like the dress? And they told you, well, now you're a boy. Oh, sorry, now you're a girl, right? Or you like to play with tanks? Oh, now you're a boy. right? Screwing with other people's kids. So yeah. Basically today for you guys, just for me, we're in a day earlier, day after, right? So yeah, 6 years ago today. Crazy, right? I didn't even think about this, but yeah. Messes with me, man. Chinese built, right? Chinese built hydropower dam. There's the people that put their hand out and trying to say, yeah, we can build it for y'all. Yo. Yeah, Chen. Good way to get some money in our pockets, bro. Let's go. Oh, hey, tell Mao or tell Z, yeah, well, this is a good one for us. You know, we'll get some money for us. You know, $100 million in our pocket. Fuck the people, right? Like I said, people died, people gone. They don't give a fuck. Grandson's gone, right? Gone. Recently, in America, there was a full, the camp. Children, I think it was about 30 kids died a couple of weeks ago, and due to flash flood. We've had that sort of stuff here in New Zealand as well. So it's crazy. You just can't. It is what yes, it just happens. But this is man-made. This ain't the flash flood, right? The Chinese-built hydro dam burst and killed people. So the blood is on China's hands. So there's been an investigation. There's like a whole like this. I just saw that when I was looking at this, there was like a hour and a half long cases, like reports and interviews and stuff. He was talking about her. Was it like her son? So her son's gone. And here's the other thing, right? When you're in a village and you lose children, that devastates you. And I just don't mean in the village. I mean like anywhere when you lose a child, right? I mean just the death of children has broken up marriages, have caused parents to suicide, right? So her son, right, disappeared, hasn't been found. One line, gone. No more children. And this is why I think a lot of people don't understand, right, that I like to, concentrate on when it comes to when I start talking about this, but the line, the bloodline. So if her son's dead, that means there's nothing to carry on his name because the next thing we'll find out this grandson, right? We just saw her grandson body was found, but his son's not. So now not only they've lost his line, now they've lost his line, the grandson's line as well. So there's two family lines are wiped out. Nobody care on your name. No future. This is something a lot of people don't think about when there's death of children, death of parents, especially when it comes to children, because like it's just like this, their children's children. That line's gone. It's just cut off. Right? So they haven't found the son's body, right? Only the body of the grandson. 5 billion cubic meter of water. Cubic meters of water. All right. Look at what it's done, man. There's a Buddhist temple there. Look at how high the water is. It's more than one. Shit. It's like where my foot is right now because I'm like, next level I can imagine. Shit. I wish they would take this away. I don't know why they put this on. Now every time there's a new thing that's happened with, which is annoying. I wish they wouldn't put this up. Every time you pause, it comes up. YouTube has done a change the last little bit. Dude, I have seen this in Fiji during hurricane seasons. This is basically like a hurricane season here, but it's not. It's man-made. Cement walls, man. The force of that water. This is real rebar, by the way, not the one we just saw in Bangkok, Thailand. This is real rebar that's been bent. Like I said, I've seen this in a hurricane when I was a kid in Fiji, in the cyclones that came up. When the water came in from sea, this was like in 83, 82, when I was there, it was about this high on the coast. One of my, I think it was one of the people that used to live, like the water, like I said, this is the water. This is like a house in Fiji, right? So about 50 meters this way is the sea, Sunasali Island. And there's like a road here, and then there's, the road goes here. And then just over here is a railway that that's used to move like tons and tons of sugar, real cane sugar, the good healthy shit, not the fake crap that everybody wants to eat with the corn syrup and shit. Right? That's fake, and that ruins your, it causes obesity. And hey, if you eat a lot of anything, it's going to cause you, has side effects. But like, natural sugar, all you got, squeeze it out, let it crystallize, boom. Or usually they to get it, clean it up, get brown, right? But boil it up, and now you got like caramel. So this looks like that house, right? There was a 2-story house. Oh, it was a 1-story. I think it was a 1-story house. So there was this was here in Fiji. I'm just trying, back in 82, 83. And I remember my uncles telling me that the guy from here nearly got swept out, and he held on to this, like he was about this high, like, just above the water, and he held on to that fucking power pole, right? So that he couldn't get washed away. Like he was on there for hours because the force of the water came up. Our house is like about another kilometer away from here in Fiji. And actually, let me just bring up Sunai Sali Island. Nandi, hold on, so I can show you guys map. Google Map. If I do Google, it might give me give you an idea of like the height and levels and all that shit. I don't. Would it be better to go with Google Map? Hold on, let's try that. Right, and then go Sunasali Island. Sunasali. Okay. All right, here we go. So there's just a bit of a detour here. I just want to show you, I've been in, cyclones, not scary shit. So here we go. So this is where this is their home right here. It's about here, right? Yeah. So actually, no, I apologize. So that's the wharf, right? So their house would be, gosh, this has changed. Oh, no, I see. Yeah, this is the right. Apologies, right. Yeah. So this is it here, but they've put this freaking, they put a wharf here. Now you can walk across. I grew up here. This is my backyard. All of this. As a kid, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 6-year-old. All this is my backyard. There's a school I went to. And our home in Fiji Queens Road, Nandi Korobuto Primary. Oh yeah, this is where I went to Korobuto Primary. This is a new area they've just freaking built up. So our home, where is? Yeah. So this is where my friend used to live, their family. So there we go. So now I know where we are. So this is where my late aunt lives. That's our plot of land in Fiji, or this area here. These guys get to use our land here to feed their goat and sheep animals, graze. This is a beautiful. I love this mango tree. Now, so you go down like this and you come around here, and then it's that's my granddad's family plot land. Is that where we? Yeah, it's around. That's us here. Maybe they put a. Actually, we might actually be hiding. Yeah, I think our house is actually hidden here somewhere, around here somewhere. So if that's Maxie, so it's around there. Yeah, no, that's us there. Shit. Is that a new road? Looks like a new road. Yeah, so this is what I mean. So the people here, right? This is how close. This is like has been built in the last 20 years or something, because I've been living here for 40 years. But so this area here, this is where the guy was holding on, because the water came in through here, right? Through there, the cyclone came in. So you're looking at about 4 meter high water, right? And this is where he's holding on here. This is his house here. That guy's, I'm not sure if they still live there, but this is way back in the 80s. And he was holding onto a pole here, trying to survive. Because we're way over here, we're all right. But the water, all this was underwater. Yeah. So just trying to tell you how bad it can get, right? From personal experience. Because it takes forever for that water to go out with the tide. If you're lucky, that and this happened in the middle of the night, by the way, to those guys. Like, and that's why I can say, like, wow. And he was in the middle of the night. He was like freaking holding onto the pole, trying to survive. And yeah, so Curtis is saying that if the farm belongs to everyone, people look at it and say someone should take care of it. If that's your farm, you realize I got to take care of it. Yeah, and the thing about villages, like I showed you, all that, like I said, my backyard, because it was my backyard. As a kid growing up, you hung out with your friends and you went everywhere, and nobody really worried about you going on their land because you're all part of the same village. You all took care of each other. And so, I was showing you the area there. That was all that green area. I was saying this is my backyard. That's all sugarcane. So all the farmers used to, help each other. Like I remember, like, village life is this, right? Okay, we're going to help you farm your land. Cool. And you'll help me farm my land. And then we'll harvest your land. And then we'll harvest, my land. Seasonal. Sugarcane's like you just went from like all right, next week we got to go to Hans Raja's place. Next week we got to go to Babu Bhaya's, whatever, brother, right? Whatever. Or you got to go to granddad's, whatever, his granddad's. Like, okay. So it's like basically like a bunch of workers going from one place to another throughout like about 3-month period. I remember one time I was asked by my grandmother and my aunt to take my granddad tea and lunch in these like silver little layered containers, like bento boxes, but they're actually not like same level. They're actually layered, so like it's like stainless steel metal cans, and so they're like lunches. So in one you have rice, next you have roti, what is it called, flatbread, then you have curry and you have dal, right, and so on. And me at 7 years old, walking for freaking mile or two, to take my uncle lunch, my granddad lunch, and sometimes after that was like my uncles when they started working. But yeah, I remember like friggin' walking, God, it must have been like when you got little feet, man. So I'm always walking, right? I love walking. I walk about three hours a week when I go shopping. We just walk around town because I just did it as a kid. It's part of, you know, part of your gene, as they say. Yeah, and this is it, right? It's senseless. It's unnecessary. It's corruption that causes it, and it's not just one place. Like I said, we just looked at Bangkok. Now we look at Laos. Now we look at Kenya, right? The guys were talking about Kenya when we switched over to this. So that lady's entire bloodline is gone. Grandson's gone. Who could carry it? And if the grandson died, okay, that's son. Sorry, no, son's gone as well. So there's no bloodline, right? This is something that, like, it's basically, it's the most cruelest of cruel things to wipe out a person's bloodline from ever existing. This is something that I think that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to children dying and fathers dying. See, mothers, right? They could marry somebody else and then carry that bloodline, somebody else's bloodline, but not that person's bloodline's gone, right? It's a erasure of bloodlines. And this is why, like, it's just the ruthlessness and callousness of it all. That China's able to do this everywhere and get away with it.
พังเพลงหมดเขาจะคล้องไฟพวกหมาพวกเผาลักปืนลักไผ่งอยลงหมดลูกวันนี้น้ำไม่แห้งคือจังว่าได้โล่งลูกตัดสินใจโล่ง
So she goes, at this point I decided to take our boat downstream to our family.
แม่นี่ละว่าตัดสินใจโล่ง
with all my family.
ว่าดูนี่
Right? So if we'd stayed, we'd have died. It was too dangerous. This is taller than a 6-foot man. I mean, sorry, it's about 9 foot, around about, I'd say about 9 foot, right? 9 foot's about a standard room, floor, story. Is it 9 foot? Maybe 10 foot, around there. That's how high this water was, man. This is the river here, right? That they blocked up with the dam. Chinese. The fact that these guys have put their livelihoods are in the home and the farm, that they've lost that. But now, I mean, on top of that, they lost all their family.
พาแล้วเขาว่าบอกก็พ่อพันพาก็ไปทอดเขาว่าสิพาลูกพาหลานตายแล้วจะว่าตัดสินใจลงไปหอดน่ะก็บ่ได้จักตายลูกจักตายก็หัวเหือเวงปั๊บอยู่ลูกก็ไปเปิ้อกับก้มมะขามก็คิดจากเลยละลูกก็เหือก็ฮักเลยละก็ไปมัน
Check out the force of the water, man. That, like, their boat hit a tree. A tamarind tree isn't it strong, by the way. We call it imli in Fiji, right? It's you make spicy. It's black, like it's kind of like syrupy black chutney, right? So it's not really, that. Yeah, it's not like a friggin' pine tree, right? Let me find one that's actually looks. I get a better view of it. Give me a full view. I'm getting like top of it. Okay. All right. Yeah. So this, it's kind of a weird shaped tree. It's like very loose, right? Here we go. That's a good one. So it's not. It can be like crazy strong, but isn't. Come on, you're annoying the hell out of me now. Where is it? Here we go. So it doesn't look that, it's not something like you're hitting a pole, right? And the fact that they were their boat, these are fisher people, right? So they look after their boat. They're not going to this is their livelihood, right? Yeah, so it's not crazy, but remember, like you're up about this high, so they're hitting the branches, right? Because it's about a 10-foot high, a 9-foot high, so they're hitting the branches. So the force of the water behind them is able to tear the sort of these out of the ground. It's able to tear the cement power poles out of the ground, right? Look at that. There was a coffin. Another body, another person murdered by China. Willfully, negligence. Willful negligence, right? Greed. I've mentioned this before, right? The Chinese have a saying, if you can cheat, cheat. It's something you have to remember. I've been through that myself. They don't like, they want to take you to the letter of the sentence, right? Like the letter, of the whatever, contract. And once you've done it, that's it. There's no sort of like, hey, this is why I did that. So you can, no, there's no fucking give or take in that, right? Because once they have the winning hand, you're fucked. And this is what the problem here is with all of this shit, is that once you sign up, what do you expect? I mean, like, what, this was going to be here forever? What, you didn't think there was going to be accident? Well, no, because it's a dam, and you're supposed to have, like, all the money that was provided to build it to be built with good material to last, not fuck up 13 villages of people's lives and what is it, like 13,000 people, and not to kill them. Right? That's a grave. I mean, sorry, that's a coffin. That's a coffin box. Right? The fact that they're doing that shows you that there's so many of them. It's just a box. All right. I think that's them there as well. The adults boxed up. Group funeral ceremonies. Right? Buddhist. Is it Hinduism or is it Buddhist that you'll come back in another life? Hopefully you're not a fucking flea. Hopefully you're not born in China under communism. Even the Chinese now are saying, I hope I never come back born as a Chinese. That's what the Chinese are right now saying. It was like, I was watching this interview and going, people are talking and they're posting, I hope I'll never be reborn as Chinese in the next life. $7.9 thousand people displaced. When they mean displaced, I mean there's nothing they can go back to. Right? The farm's gone. The homes are gone. Their clothes is gone. Their food is gone. Everything's fucking gone. Their animals, their livelihoods, it's gone. Right? This is annoying. I have to go back. I'm going to get rid. I don't know why it's this thing. I can't get rid of that. Sorry, guys. Let me see if I can play it from there, and hopefully it'll get rid of it. There we go. 7,095 displaced. 39 dead. That's like the 31 that just got murdered this week, a day ago in Bangladesh, which we're going to get to soon, right? That's like, but yeah, another 40 people dead. How many more injured? Like I was saying, coffin. Dig a hole, put them in. Because actually, the cemetery's gone as well. That's the other side of that. Like you think about all the buried people, you know, the markers, those are gone. The gravestones, they're gone. You know, the markers for the dead family members from before this, they're gone because it's got all washed away by the fucking hydro dam that the Chinese built. 97 still missing. Like just the other one, like over in Bangkok. 81 still missing. Nobody knows where the fuck are they. It's always around 100 people die, right, when it comes to China. Oh, yeah. Doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, this is a funeral pyre. If you've never seen what a funeral pyre is, this is how Hindus, Buddhists, because we don't bury our dead. You pile up trees. Last time I had to go through this was when my grandmother died in 2014. And I don't know how the Buddhists do it, but in Hinduism, you know, you have a priest who prays, and your male family members will walk around, and every now and then you throw like you know, oil, ghee, right? Ghee, like what is it, milk? I think it's milk fat, whatever you call it. So you put a little bit all around, right? And you layer the wood there, and you just like, then you know, pile up, and then on top of that you put the body that's clothed in white, right? Because white is death, right? So you know, the Western cultures is black, right? So, and you know, funeral, I mean, attire, and in Eastern cultures is white. So you know, my grandmother's what's called you know, wearing her white sari undercoat, blouse, and she's there, and you see her, she's there, man. You see her face, her body, and everything. She's there, and you walk around. So people this way, no women are allowed. All right, you go to sexism, no, because a woman would, in the previous times, they used to throw themselves on the pyres along with their husbands and children because of you know, how devastated it were. So it's like, no, in Hinduism, no women are allowed at the funeral, at the cemetery, I should say, not at the funeral. So they're at home, you know, consoling each other. While the men, doesn't matter if it's a male or female who's died or child, it's a man's duty to do that. So they'll walk around. See here, you can see like in Buddhism, I guess the women are allowed, and not in Hinduism. So they'll walk around. The body's like the wood from the coffin is actually put in there as well. What's interesting here is you got tire. We wouldn't use tire, right? We wouldn't use anything chemical. The only thing with it we use is this camphor, so that allows it to burn, all right? But we wouldn't use something like that. We'll just use wood. We would never use anything like plastics or rubber like that. So like, it'd be like the grossest thing you could think of in Fiji. Like, be like, what are you, stupid? Take yourself out of here. So yeah, so so what? Yeah, so we walk. You know, they walk around. That, you know, put more camphor on there, and then you get a piece of you know, like you get a lighter, piece of wood, lighter, and then you start going around and lighting up wherever the you know, the oil or the, you know, whatever is that just, you know, that'll catch up quickly. So all areas are burning, and you got to make sure all areas are burning because you don't want like half the body not burning, right? I know it's gross, but you actually learn very early on life and death. You celebrate and mourn the death, so it doesn't become like something far away for you. So you grow up as, you know, if you're a child, you're there. It doesn't, you know, if you're a male child, you're there, and you go through that. It's like a real major ritual that you understand the meaning of life and the meaning of death, right? However, in Hinduism, there's like, oh, you get reincarnated as a bug or as a cow or as somebody else, right? I don't believe that shit. You're dead, right? So you got to do the best you can in this life. That's my philosophy anyway. So yeah. Yeah, there you go. See, there's the oil there. All right, there's a bucket. So there's a big, huge gallon of oil. It's like a 40 liter or something like 30 liter. Yep, and he's lighting it. Yep, making sure every area is lit. Look at that. Not even one at a time. Because they're all, you know, the water has bloated them. It's going to smell. That's 5, 6. Actually, yeah, there's 6, right? There's another one here maybe. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look at the school. Still a mess. This was like in Fiji, like we had this in at a primary school and secondary schools, like the windows would get, with the cyclones, the windows get blown out. And there'll be like rubbish everywhere. And then, you know, the kids, you know, people, if the caretakers would, you know, locals would go up and help and clean it out with the family members that were around there, of the teachers. I mean, sorry, the family members of the students. And even just local people. Doesn't matter if you had a child there or not, right? If your child was still a baby and wasn't old enough to go to school, you still went and helped because that was your village, that was your family. You went and helped because you know that someday you will need that help, right? So 3,000 people, all because of fucking China and their greed. Shoddy tofu drag bullshit.
ใช่ครับเท8
Yeah, so there you go, just here. You're saying like 8 people lost their lives here and 2 more. There are did not found. So everybody feels upset towards the company that built it. The Chinese company that built it. These guys didn't even know that they put a fucking dam up the road from them. How's that? Imagine living there and not knowing that some fucking morons is building a tofu drag dam, hydropower dam, further up. How hush-hush was this that they actually built it without letting these people? This is not new, by the way. This sort of shit isn't new. How, you know, building dams up the, you know, up the line, and then there's all these villages at the bottom of the valleys. I was showing some people this, you know, I haven't been, you know, for about 3 months or something, 4 months on this channel. But I was showing some people what was happening in China, how they flooded their own people, right? Because of their dams, because they, see, Chinese want to, like the communist thing is like man over nature. So they moved all the rivers and pushed it away from where they should be, and they dammed up, you know, in places where they saw in between mountains. So where the natural water line wasn't. So what happened was, because of that, you know, what happens is like there's a natural water line, which means there's like, you know, you have all these river lines where there's rocks underneath, so the water flows. However, if the dam breaks, what happens is the water goes back to that area, and they were building villages there on that rivers. And so nature has a way, right? What is it like? Nature abhors, oh gosh, what is that? Empty something or something like that. It's crazy. It's like, yeah, just like the 81 that I was talking about in Bangkok, you know, with the earthquake, with that Chinese building that basically went down a couple seconds, like 5 seconds. That's the thing. So like 90, it's, yeah, there's 97 people who are not going to be able to have children, not going to carry on their bloodline, you know, including the 40 that are, you know, the 39, this case it says there, yeah, that are dead. This is a coconut tree, man. They used to grow on water. So they're like, they're very strong. Yeah. Anything that was one level is gone. Look at the trees being uprooted. I'm not sure that's like there wasn't done before, right? But like, you got there's only coconut trees there. Where's all the other mango trees and everything else? Well, they're gone.
จะมาเขื่อนสิเปลี่ยน
All the fruit trees are gone.
มันเขื่อนบ่ทันแล้วก็บ่เชื่อมันว่ามันสิลุ
See,
กบัน
they didn't even know the dam was the cause of it, right? They just thought it was just big major flooding because they didn't even know there was a dam there.
แล้วก็บ่เชื่อมันว่ามันสิลุกบันลุกเอื้อนนั่นแหละของบ่เคยเห็นจักเทื่อแต่เกิดมาก่อมา
Oh yeah, see, remember I was talking about like the soil, the topsoil being wiped away? Look at where it's piling up.
ก่อมา
Whatever stops it. Hold on, sorry, I went past it. There. See that? That's just mud. Clay. Soil from the river, which means it's would be like salty, right? Salinated. Yeah. That's not good for plants to grow, especially on land.
ก่อมา
Look at the trees, man. All that plant life just gone. All the animals just gone or drowned. All right, how do you survive in 10 foot of water, man, if you're an animal? A lot of people care about dogs and cats. Well, what about chooks, goats, horses, deer? I think Laos has deer. I think they have some other their own sort of native animals there as well. Yeah, the company said it warned authorities the dam was about to collapse. Oh, right. Yeah. So what the fuck are you gonna do? Oh, we warned them. Well, so what? How did the dam? Why did the dam collapse? Oh, because of shoddy Chinese fucking made shit. So, like I said earlier, if your company, if your country is getting in bed with China, well, better fucking watch out. This could be you. More than likely will be you if they're getting bad, right? Together, but suppose that they were misled about the nature of the pending disaster. They probably said there was just a bit of water again, like, right? That's it. This is all the people with no home to go to. This is a school. So it looks like it's a school or a park. No, it's actually, if I remember right, it's more because I'm thinking about like the way I think, like Big Farm Village. This is probably a school. Yeah, you got jungle gyms, not jungle gyms, sorry, you got swings, merry-go-rounds. Yeah, it's a school. The worst part is like I was saying about how earlier on about how if you're far away, if you're in the hills and stuff, there's no plumbing and stuff. These guys are remote as well. So the only way they could get in there is to get a helicopter because all the roads are fucked, right? A year, 6 years ago, today. This is what I was talking about, being able to be livable again. It could take years. And here's the other thing. This is the family vehicle. This is the workhorse. This is your family transport. This is everything. Right? This is what you go to get food. This is what you use to go fishing. This is what you go to the farm to plant stuff. I know because this is what it's like in Fiji, right? It becomes everything, right? You take the kids to school. That's chuck one on a motorbike because you can't afford a car. Because cars cost your entire life worth of income. So a lot of people have scooters, motorbikes, secondhand mostly.
โอ้ยบ่จักเลยเพิ่นก็ยังว่าเพิ่นมาเว้าทั้งองค์การจัดตั้งเพิ่นว่าทั้งขันเพิ่นบอกว่า
Yeah, he's saying, I won't know if, I don't know if I can come back again. Maybe in a year. Maybe in a year. It's been 6 years.
360
I wonder what this,
มาปีนึงมาอยู่นี่จักว่าสิอยู่จังได๋แล้วก็บ่ทันจักคำว่าเพิ่นบ่อนามัยคักแน่นี่ก็
Yeah, what do you do when you have nothing left because of China? You don't have family members. You don't have, you don't have classmates. You don't have your friends. You don't have the lady you grew up with for 80 years when you're a child, or the lady that brought you up, right? What do you do when you don't have that? Right? It's like this is the thing. A lot of times people don't think about the overall mental state or the mental health of situations like this. Yeah, remember I was talking about how the boat hit that tree and just came apart, temporary tree, and just fell apart. So look at it. It's not like that. It's not anything simple. These are like heavy, well looked after, because they're like their livelihood. This is land. It's not sea. This is land. All right. Okay. Let's go back to the other one. The original story before we did the detour to Laos. But remember, there's like 97 missing, dead. Probably like 95% dead. 39, confirmed dead. And this is where we detoured to. All right, Laos.
Laos hydropower station, and the Kenya Railways operational losses, all these cases expose the fatal flaws of Chinese companies in their international expansion. They emphasize speed over quality and publicity over responsibility. The significance of
So let's talk about speed, right? So the propaganda out of China is like, America takes years, if not months, to build a road or a bridge or a building or skyscraper. America does everything so slow. We can do it within a couple months. We're the fucking best in the world. And this is your output of doing the
Bangkok incident is particularly striking. It is the first super high-rise building built by a Chinese company overseas, yet it collapsed in just 5 seconds. This incident directly challenges.
That's the result of building fast and cheating and stealing and corruption. Chinese way. If you can cheat, cheat.
The image of China's infrastructure being far ahead. This incident is not only an engineering disaster, but also a setback for the international image of Chinese infrastructure. Following the strong earthquake in Myanmar, several regions have declared a national state of emergency. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the earthquake occurred at...
Now, this is cool. Thank you for that. Excuse me. So you see, Laos is here. We're going to be looking here. This is a Belt and Road, right? So this is China coming through here. It's all about, right? It's the Belt and Road. So you've had Laos fucked up 6 years ago. You have all of this, right? Myanmar, because they've built a lot of the buildings in China. In Myanmar, Tibet, I should say, Tibet, right? The Chinese are basically strong-armed and taken over. Those houses were all pancaked. They were built by China. And of course, Bangladesh, which happened just a day ago.
Occurred at 12:50 p.m. local time on March 28th, with a magnitude of 7.7 on the Richter scale. The epicenter was located 16 kilometers northwest of the city of Sagaing, near Myanmar's second largest city, Mandalay, and about 100 kilometers from the capital, Naypyidaw. The earthquake's depth was 10 kilometers. This earthquake was a shallow source quake, releasing a powerful amount of energy and affecting a wide area. According to the Thailand Meteorological Department's Earthquake Monitoring Center, by 5:30 p.m. local time on March 28th, the strong quake had triggered 19 aftershocks, ranging from magnitudes of 3 to 7.1. At 2:20 p.m. Beijing time on March 28th, several areas in Yunnan province, China, also felt the tremors from the strong earthquake in Myanmar. According to reports from China's Central Television, the earthquake in Myanmar was strongly felt in areas across Yunnan, including Sichuan-Banna, Dehong, Lijiang, Baoshan, and Dali, as well as in Guizhou and Guangxi provinces. The intense shaking caused noticeable tremors in Dehong Prefecture, especially in the city of Ruili. A video circulating online shows a building in the center of Ruili where the water tank on top of the multi-story building collapsed due to the shaking, and a large amount of water poured down like a waterfall. People panicked and tried to escape, but the water quickly overwhelmed them, and many were swept away by the surge, pushing them toward the street. A woman recalled that she saw the whole building shaking and heard strange noises due to the earthquake. Then water and sand began rushing down. She said, "It just overwhelmed us. We were scared." She said that when the water stopped, she saw some people had been injured by falling debris. The whole scene was chaotic. At 3:15 p.m. on March 28th, Mr. Chen, a staff member at a hotel in the building, said the tremors had been felt about a half hour earlier. He recalled, "It started in the lobby, then the whole building started to shake. The shaking grew stronger, and things started falling from the 31st floor. Everyone rushed out." Mr. Chen said that, apart from a few residents, all the hotel guests had been evacuated by firefighters. He said, "I only saw an elderly gentleman with an injured arm." The building was still...
Here's the thing. If a building shakes that fast, you're not just going to have one person with an injured arm. That's the shit about China. They wipe out anything to minimize everything. Or you just said, "Oh, old person." You just see how freaking crazy that thing shook.
Experiencing aftershocks, and the area had been blocked off by firefighters.
The thing is, their own buildings are shit. We know that. Tofu drag the term tofu drag comes from China, from their own people. They don't even, I mean, it's just like all their buildings are fucking built like that shit.
In another video, a woman is heard saying, "Wow, it was instantly leveled to the ground. My God." The video from another angle shows the crowd fleeing, while huge dust clouds and falling debris pour down from above. Videos also show dust flying in the streets of Ruili as residents fled from tall buildings. Utility poles had collapsed, and emergency evacuation procedures were quickly implemented. One resident said,
"Like I remember, the house was shaking. I was on a motorcycle, and it felt like I was being tossed around."
In a report by New Beijing News, Mr. Zhang, a Ruili resident, mentioned that he clearly felt the tremors while riding his bike, and the trees and buildings by the road were swaying. People rushed out of their homes and gathered in open spaces to seek safety. Zhang told reporters,
"Yeah, but only one elderly person hit their arm."
That the beams in his house had cracked, and nearby shopping mall parking garages had collapsed. Mr. Ye, who was in Ruili during the earthquake, said that he had gone to his company to pick up something and was about to get into his car when he noticed that the car was shaking. He quickly realized it was an earthquake, and the shaking grew stronger. He ran out immediately and saw people from the upper floors also running down. Mr. Ye said, "Now everyone is outside. I don't know what to do. I'm just waiting in an open area for now." After the earthquake, a netizen in Ruili said, "It calmed down for a while, but then it started shaking again. I'm too scared to sleep tonight." The cracks in the houses may worsen due to aftershocks. According to the official announcement from Ruili, Yunnan, 458 households and 1,705 people were affected by the Myanmar earthquake. 2 people were slightly injured, and some buildings experienced falling debris. Some high-rise buildings and old houses were partially damaged. Dehong in Yunnan province borders Myanmar and is located about 300 to 400 kilometers from the epicenter, where the impact was the strongest. Residents in Mangshi, Dehong, reported strong tremors, with some saying they couldn't even stand up. The damage to houses was severe. In Yunnan's Dehong, a high-rise building shook, and citizens rushed to escape. While the earthquake occurred in Mangshi, a netizen living on the 25th floor recorded the violent shaking of their fish tank. Water spilled out, and furniture was constantly moving. They said, "It felt like I was going through a life or death moment." At Da Hong Normal College, the damage was shocking. The roof of the teaching building was severely damaged, with bricks and tiles falling off. Several cracks appeared in the walls, and tiles were broken. Kunming, the capital of Yunnan, is about...
Right, we're going to switch to influences now, and then we'll go back to Bangladesh. I think this might be a two-parter, because we're already 2 hours in, 2.5 hours in. Wow, crazy. All right. Now, I'm going to put a song on, and then I'm going to come back. I need a break. So hopefully, I don't get struck for putting a song on. Actually, no, I'll put on... I wonder if I can put on... Actually, yeah, I think if I put on this song, it'd be fine. It's one of my local friends' songs. Let me see. What is it called? Hello Me? Midnight. Midnight. Hello Me. Is that one? Please be that one. Yep, the Crooked Cops. There we go. Okay. Back in a second.
Staring at these four walls, remembering where I'm at and where I've been. Know that I'm far from home, but it feels like an extension. A warm smell keeps blowing from the kitchen. No, it's not a rat, but I'm not sure, 'cause it's not my kitchen. At midnight, halloumi through me, still it keeps coming and coming again. I know I feel the morning brewing, but that halloumi, yeah, it's through me. I said that midnight, halloumi through me, still it keeps coming and coming again. I know I feel the morning looming, but that halloumi, yeah, it's through me. First batch was a winner, the second was a sinner, then you went for one more. I don't know what it's doing to my inside, but my tongue well knows. The butter running down my throat, and I can't explain no more. No, I can't explain no more. A warm smell is blowing in from the kitchen. No, it's not a cat, but I'm not sure, 'cause it's not my kitchen. That midnight halloumi through me, still it keeps coming and coming again. I know I feel the morning brewing, but that halloumi, yeah, through me. I said that midnight halloumi through me, still it keeps coming and coming again. I know I feel the morning looming, but that halloumi, yeah, through me. Tick tock, clock, going past midnight. That's not a cat, no, that's not a rat. Hey, it's not my cat. Midnight halloumi through me, still it keeps coming and coming again. I know I feel the morning brewing, but that halloumi, yeah, through me. I said that midnight halloumi through me, still it keeps coming and coming again. I know I feel the morning looming, but that halloumi, yeah, through me. To cater to my needs, at a time indeed is a legend indeed. Kate, that's on my knees at a time in need is a legend indeed.
All right, welcome back. And I have returned. Okay. Let's look at the stupid influences ruining, lying to the rest of the world about how great China is and how great the infrastructure is, right? And how, how they're getting paid to lie about, as paid shills for China. Now, like I said earlier, every time I watch, if I come across Chinese propaganda about how great China is with their infrastructure, they built a road so fast and such, and then I just look at the news and we're coming out of China about how there's and which is kind of sad, but funny because of their propaganda saying how great they build, where there's they're building this this bridge across two hills, and basically the bridge is gone. The road is just gone, and there's a 40-ton truck. 40 ton? No, yeah, isn't it it's about a 40-ton truck, a Mack, whatever, big Mack is just hanging off the edge there because the road just fell. It just fell. The support just went. And it was only built about 5 years ago. So let's have a look at malls in China. How great fucking China is with building infrastructure and stuff. How fast they can build these things. It's just amazing. It just amazes me how amazing China is, guys. We're in the West, we're the dumbest people in the world. We can't do what China can do, right? After all, China spent killing 60 million of their own people over about a decade due to communism. Because they put engineers told engineers to farm, and farmers to be engineers, because everybody should be equal, right? Socialism. Oh, you know how to paint? Well, you should know how to farm. You know how birds and birds have sex? Okay, now go and build a house. And you know what the result of that was? Starvation in the tens of millions. And the recent report, they found that somebody was using Grok, and Grok just exposed China and said that during COVID, 150 million people in China died. Yeah, said it fast because, why should we care, right? Because they don't care. They keep saying that they have 1 billion people, but they don't. China has somewhere around about 600 million people. 650, give or take. But every couple of months, they have a viral outbreak because they fake their foods. And earlier on, I mentioned how around about 200 to 300 kids were poisoned with lead, 400 times what is normal for a human being to have in their body, or I should say 400 times what a normal body can handle. But these were children, kindergarten children, who were poisoned with lead because the teachers and principal thought, well, we got to make food more attractive to the little kids to eat because they might not want the vegetables. So let's paint it with lead infected, paint dyes. Yeah. That happened about 2-3 weeks ago. But let's look at buildings, since we're talking about buildings.
This station is absolutely beautiful.
Shill. Influencer Shill. I would love to see who that was. I don't know why they hit her face. This is a guy who's paid. That guy was paid to shill for China. So he's a trader. Yeah. I'm going to call it out. If you're shilling for China, you're a traitor to the West. You're a traitor to your people. You're a traitor to your country. All right? No, I'm a nice guy.
Feels like I've arrived at a lobby of a very, very expensive hotel.
China's been pouring millions into influencer campaigns, hoping drone shots and beauty filters can distract from a growing embarrassment. It's collapsing public infrastructure. No matter how glossy the marble floors or how grand the architecture looks on camera, the signature tofu dread quality always finds a way to show itself, sometimes in the form of black water crashing through the ceiling. What is happening to China's public infrastructure? Are these just freak accidents or...
Oh yeah, by the way, this is not old, right? This is from a day ago, right? Not old, a day ago. Imagine being under that ceiling. Tiles, just, yeah, that's cement, by the way. Look, oh, here's, I mean, I'd be depressed if I don't laugh at this, but he's not laughing. He's just walking along, boom. That's because, hey, China builds so fast. China has so much money to spend on infrastructure that they're giving hundreds and billions and whatever away to everybody else around the world. And everybody's taking it who are dumb. Like South Pacific, like Africa, like Middle East, like some Europe countries. Sri Lanka did it. And guess what happened to them? The whole freaking system collapsed. Bangladesh was trying to do it. 30 people died this week.
Early warnings of something deeper, something rotten inside the walls, the ceilings, the system itself. On June 26, 2025, Kwaiju Railway Station, once a gleaming symbol of China's high-speed rail ambitions.
See, it's all about the veneer of outdoing America, of outdoing the West. Like, we can build, we're better. That arrogance that comes with like xenophobia. Right? We Chinese, we're better. Right? We're the best. We have the most people. Right? That's what they're trying to give all the Asian countries, because that makes them have more, you know, they can say, there's a lot of Chinese than anybody other in the world, because it's about numbers, right? They say, let's get Korea, let's get North Korea, let's get Taiwan, let's get Hong Kong, let's take all these islands, you know, that have Mandarin or Chinese people in them, and make them ours, because they're ours. After all, they have the same ethnicity, but they're not, because they have their own culture, they have their own religion, they have their own belief systems, and it has nothing to do with China. But China wants the numbers, because they've already lost $150 million people to COVID, because of their own, you know, dealings with China hide and all that, and locking them up and basically shooting them who were escaping and stuff like that, you know. So it's all about veneer. They always have these like really like trophy things, right? We've got to show off how great we are, better than anybody else in the world. But in that whole thing, they got influencers doing that for them, right? They pay European influencers, right? Australians. Fuck, I don't want to see any Kiwis doing it, because I'll be like, you know, making sure that they know that they're fucking traitors. But the other thing is, they want tourists to be able to promote them, but they hate tourists. They hate everybody else. They hate foreigners, right? You know, they on the one hand, they tell people to come there, and then they tell their people that these are the people that are bad. They're the ones keeping you down. You know, the whole scapegoatism, right? Like Germany, right? And Nazism, like, oh, it's the Jews that are causing you to be poor and stuff. It's like, well, why don't you work harder? Right? Really? I mean, seriously.
Suffered a stunning failure. At midday, with no warning and under clear skies, part of the station's ceiling suddenly collapsed. Water gushed through the breach. flooding the platform below and leaving passengers stunned. There was no rain, no storm, no natural excuse. Yet, no official explanation came. By nightfall, the area was sealed off and quietly cleaned up. Online searches for Chozo collapse was swiftly censored, and state media redirected.
This is one thing you guys you might not know if you haven't been here before on this channel or haven't actually thought about it. There's a firewall. There's a wall that code electronic internet wall that stops anybody inside China learning about what's outside China, what's happening outside China. Right? So they're basically in a cage. They only get fed what they're told. And also that same cage, that same firewall, they can, delete shit. Like you just said. And it happens every hour. Anytime something happens, boom, somebody died and it was that's what we can't talk about it. Everything wiped clean. I just saw this little thing about this dude that looked like Xi Jinping, right? The premier or the fucking dictator of China. And he looked like him. He was an opera singer and they wiped him straight off. They're like, no, even if he was saying good things about the guy, pro-China, pro-communism, even then, he still wasn't allowed. So they just basically took his entire career away as an opera singer. But if you look like, if you sound like and look like Donald Trump, you're good. If you look like somebody else, you're good. But you can't be, you can't be a Chinese politician lookalike.
Attention to normal rail operations. The silence was deafening and familiar. Censorship moved fast, following a well-worn script to bury signs of what many suspected: another tofu drag project cracking under pressure. Then, just days later on July 8th, tragedy struck again, this time in Chongqing. At 4:30 p.m., meteorologists issued a heavy rain warning. 2 hours later, the ceiling of Longfor Chongqing Qingcheng Paradise Walk in Jiolongpo district gave way. A torrent of black water, possibly mixed with debris or sewage, erupted through the ceiling. Shoppers fled as the wave tore through shops and corridors.
That smell, right? Can you that's what they're running away from. It's a smell. Look, that's not water. That's doo-doo or poo-poo, right? That's shit. And it's gross. Ew.
Sending chaos through the building. 2 different cities, 2 different triggers, 1 unsettling pattern. Both collapses, one in dry conditions, the other...
That's 2019, by the way. That's a year after Laos.
In a downpour, exposed deeper flaws in China's urban planning and disaster prevention efforts. They also raised serious doubts about the effectiveness of the Sponge City initiative, launched in 2015, to make cities more resilient to flooding through advanced drainage systems, permeable pavements, and smarter urban design. But critics say many of these projects remain surface level, rushed, underfunded, or plagued by the same corner cutting that gave rise to the infamous tofu drag.
Fuck me. See, I was actually waiting for water to come in because we were talking about water, right? So I thought there was water coming here. I thought there was water coming there, so I'm just waiting. I was like, okay, they'll come back for the baby, but yeah, okay, water coming, right? So mum's grabbing the kid. See, Chinese are dumb. And I mean it, the mainland Chinese are dumb. Because most of them haven't been to school. Most have cheated. And we're going to look at that next time. Most of them had somebody else take their exams. Most have had somebody else sit down and get paid to take the exam. Most of them just read it, used their phone or whatever, cheated. Like, it's been proven. I mean, a family member was doing a uni course, and he said he calls me up because, hey, I just saw some Chinese dude take the place of another Chinese dude and do his exams. This is business, by the way. And that's just one story, right? One person removed from me told me that. This is like 2005. I think it might be 2006. I was shocked. I was like, holy shit. So that's what I'm saying. They're dumb.
Pavements and smarter urban design.
They don't learn themselves. They just sit there and then they whatever, pretend they're taking it. Then somebody else who's probably a lower class member, who probably his parents paid, whose parent worked their ass off to get them there. But then the other guy who's part of the party, right, who's an elite, will just give, say, do my work, or maybe I'll give you 100 yuan, $100 to do my exam, while they live and party it out. And like I've actually seen them, and they like drive around flash cars, like I think it was like a Lamborghini or some shit up in Auckland at the time, and like, yeah, I was like, how do these like 18-year-olds have all that? It's like, oh, that's because their parents are the elites, they're part of the, part of the haves, and then the have-nots have to do their labor, right? Well, yeah, if you don't do it, well, we're just going to make sure back home that your parents are like, are warned, or are taken into quick question. And then of course you are going to be told by your parents to do it without anything, otherwise that's the end of your career. Yeah, it's fucked up. Like this is communism, man. People fucking don't understand communism. Communism isn't about sharing shit, it's about control. Okay, so let's
but critics say
so here. All right, so let me just do this. Get the volume here. Watch. 1, 2, 3 child. There's a baby here, the youngest. Right, so you can say it might be a year old, or might be a twins there. She looks a bit. No. So that should be about 1 year old. This is like a newborn. And then you might have like 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. So watch. I'm watching this while I'm watching this, right? First time around. Where's the water? Where's the water? Where's the water? Where's the water? And the baby's going towards it. And mom comes back in and goes, shit. Tofu drink. Yeah. Okay, it says, save that baby just in time. I was thinking, yes, that's what I was thinking. But I was like, the water's, I just thought it was just water, right? Not the fucking ceiling. And that wasn't just the ceiling. That's actually the prefabrication between the like the cement, and then there's like a, and that's still, yeah. I just don't want to talk about that. What would happen to the baby? Yeah, so I didn't get this one, Case. It says, always be aware of any country, government, or comic book movement who are connected with the appearance of being more successful than they actually are. Yeah. Hey, Shifter, how you doing, mate? Yeah, and this is it. Like, yeah, move along, nothing to see here. That is China. That's communism. Hide the truth. Yeah. But I mean, like the leftists would tell you, oh, communism is the best thing. That's why I like to talk about it, because I think people, concentrate on communism because people don't really understand, the outcome of that belief system, of that political system, which is actually a form of religion. It is control. See, the only thing that's ever advanced society has been democracy, which is a Greek, which is a Greek system of political ideas, and freedom and capitalism. Because everyone says, I have something, I've made something. This is what my price is. Less than, either you pay for it or you negotiate, but you get value for it, right? And communism says, well, what's yours is mine. So, whatever I say the price is, that's the price of where you take it or not. And that's what's happening with the people in there. They're working to their death. One dude just collapsed at his work, had been working for 10 days. 10 days. Morning to night. Had a baby on the way. His family basically went to, find out what's going on, get compensation. They call the cops. So everybody around gathered around, the whole village gathered around to, all the other workers get around to protest. And then the cops came, pepper sprayed them, got the hose out because the cops are on the side of the government and the government's on the side of the government and the leaders. And so it's like they all, grease out each other's hands because, hey, the people have nothing to fight back against. They have nothing. Even now in China, if you're actually buying a knife, you have to register it. Serious. You have to register buying a knife. Because there have been knife attacks in China. Soon they'll be like registered. Well, you can't, your car's already registered, but there have been people driving their cars and trucks and buses into pedestrians. That's society of communism. That's 101 of communism, right? It's a society without any belief system or ideals, any value of life or each other, any rights, right? It's a rotten way of living and a rotten way of being alive. So a lot of them are basically getting fed up and killing everybody else on their way out. Yeah. Suicide by car, by cop. One guy was just drove his what they call it classic, a tank, right? Like a Humvee thing, drove it through freaking people, like cars, people, like police, everybody. And then the police broke in and shot him. And then they said, oh, we just arrested him. But the dude was just like, bang, across the other side of the car, poof, the cop. Oh, he didn't seem to be drunk or anything, but we just arrested him. Like, you see him, like, he's like, plop, pulled out the things, like, he's dead. But they're like, oh, no, in the paper, they go, we, the media report said, oh, he was just, oh, we arrested him, he's all right, take him for questioning. 8 people died. Many more were injured. But yeah, normal life under communism. All right.
Some cities are supposed to soak up the shocks of extreme weather. Why are ceilings still falling? And if Guizhou's collapse wasn't weather-related at all, what does that say about the materials and oversight behind the nation's proudest infrastructure? Tofu drag, literally bean curd residue, is more than a colorful metaphor. It's a...
How's that?
Proudest infrastructure. Tofu drag, literally bean curd residue, is more than a colorful metaphor.
Do you see how stupid their fucking planning is? Remember I was talking about, like, earlier on, like, I was talking about foundation? That's concrete on stilts. Like I said, they're not smart, man. I told you they were dumb. And without even seeing that, I told you they were dumb.
Oversight behind the nation's proudest infrastructure. Tofu drag.
Look at this. That's not how you build up fucking floors. You have a solid foundation and then you put up pillars, blocks, like 40 centimeter square rectangle blocks, right? Like this, with rebar and concrete. And little by little, you put another rebar across, or you put prefab shit on top. And, usually you put up walls, and then you put prefabs on top. And then you put another walls, rebar, and then poles, and then pillars, whatever you want to call it, support beams, right? Like I told you, dumb.
Literally bean curd residue is more than a colorful metaphor. It's a term deeply embedded in China's modern construction vocabulary.
On Facebook, I posted about how fucking modern China is like tofu drag. All their buildings collapse. And this guy goes, oh, what about the wall of China? And I went and said, commented on it. I said, like, that's been around for thousands of years. I said, did you fucking read the part where it said modern? I even put in quotes. This is how dumb Westerners are when it comes to China. See, that guy basically is trying to tell me, it's a propaganda, propagandize me, like basically for China by saying, yeah, but it's been, you don't even know what I'm talking about. And you're trying to explain to me 1,000-year-old fucking, whatever wall that actually, by the way, their own people basically sold out. Right? Remember how they like led them through, the Mongols, whatever it was? It's been a while. But yeah, even though you built a big wall, you got someone who's like corrupt led them through. Chinese corruption, right? Goes all the way back.
Into buildings and infrastructure that look solid on the outside, but fall apart under pressure. Just like
that was Bangkok. That's the, we started with the Bangkok earlier on. That's basically Bangkok.
Like tofu. Born from the aftermath of major disasters, like the 2008 Sichuan earthquake, the phrase has become shorthand for a crisis of quality, one where weak rebar...
This is what I was talking about, the rebar. Earlier on, I was talking about how rebars, are the fucking most important thing. And curing concrete, right?
The Sichuan earthquake. The phrase has become shorthand for a crisis of quality, one where...
That's what I was talking about, the ridges, right? So it doesn't so the concrete just doesn't slide off. So it actually hardens and cures around it. Look at that. There's this rubber made to look like metal with a little thin fucking whatever that is. It might not even be, might actually be not steel. It might actually be friggin' aluminum, right? Aluminium, as we can say in New Zealand, but aluminum, right? But, influences, man. What you gonna do? They sell out, Yeah. All right, so yeah. Yeah, they're driving the cars into people without a care in the world. Yeah. At speed. On purpose. Going onto footpaths. So I'm driving, like we looked at a few months back, looked at like them driving to kids going on their way to school. It's just House of Cards, but it's a society of House of Cards, right? It's a society of cards. Every level is so corrupt. The higher you get, it's worse. So let's go to, where are we? Let's go to Bangladesh, because I think we'll end with Bangladesh. We'll come back to what's going on with my mouse? Come on, mouse. Greece, no, miss. There we go. It was the first thing right at the top. All right, so let me get my spot, and we'll finish up on this because we're already are we at 4 hours in? All right, man. What is with my mouse? It's like not doing what I need to do. Where are you? There you are. You're moving. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I feel like it's 3 different mouses, but using this one, it's like a wall in front of it somehow. It's not like, it's like locked up. It won't move where I want. Okay. No, it's still doing that. I don't know why that is. All right, let me get rid of this one. Maybe because I'm having too many things open. No. Hold on. Come on. Mongrel. Another battery. Hold on. Apologies. Let me get this. Let's see if the pictures are here or it's the other way. Hopefully it's the batteries. But I mean, has been working fine, as they say. All right, there we go. Faster must have been batteries. Okay, is that the one? Yep. All right, here we go. Apologies for that. Okay. So this happened 16 hours ago, and which is the reason for this whole murder by Chinese stream.
In my travels to the north, high on a mountaintop, I found this.
All right. Let's go. 16 hours ago, by the way. Just want to make sure that, you know, we were doing 4 months ago, 3 months ago. Then we went to 6 years ago. Then we went to 5 years ago. And now we're back to, yeah. We'll be doing a part 2, I think. There's stuff I want to talk about the Pacific Islands that has to do with this. There was like ceilings again, fell down in Suva, which is, you know, 3 hours with plane from here. There's also, where are we? There's a whole bunch of other stuff. There are, where are we, buddy? Here's my list. There's my list. To do slow Bangladesh. Okay. There's Zambia, dam collapse this year. Serbia, 2024, roof collapsed, 14 dead. Cambodia, 2019, 28 dead. Kampala Expressway, which is Uganda, multiple plus high-profile deaths. And Suva, as I mentioned, last year, worker fatality, dead. Safety issues. BRI, Belton Road, related project, widespread indirect harm, global. Corruption, cross-cutting structural negligence. Willful negligence, I should say. Okay. Now, and I've got a listing for in-depth stuff for that for every single one of those. So let me find the one I needed for Bangladesh. So here it is. Date and location, July. So 16 hours ago, that was reported, right? So let's look at this. So date and location, 21st of July, 2025, Milestone School and College, Dhaka, Bangladesh. Aircraft, Chinese-made Chengdu F7, which is a MiG-21 ripoff, stolen software, stolen blueprint. Not because Chinese don't make anything themselves; they've got no brains to do it, right? They just know how to fake shit. So this is a MiG copy, all right? Fake MiG copy. So that's why it fails, because it's like it's not made by them. They haven't done any research. I mean, they did make it, but what I mean is they didn't develop it. They didn't research it. They didn't, they didn't create it from scratch. All right. Casualties, at least 21 to 32 dead, including, this is from like about 16 hours ago, including students, a teacher, and the pilot, with over 160 injured. Bangladesh, about a year ago, went through a full-on Islamic terrorist attack on everybody that wasn't Muslims. They had protesters, nationwide attacks on anybody who wasn't Muslim. It's become a Muslim nation. We talked about this Bangladesh a while back. You can look up, type in Bangladesh on the homepage, and you'll see, in the search bar, you'll see where we did an in-depth look at that, and how over freaking every 20 years, Muslims used to attack Bangladesh and steal all their resources, and then go back, like after raping and pillaging, and then come back again once a generation was new generation. Then come back for about 200 years, every few years, right, decade or two later, every time. So Bangladesh has always been poor because of that. All right. So technical cause. Technical malfunction raises questions about outdated Chinese military exports and maintenance protocols. So this is a Chinese-made MiG-21 copy that Bangladesh bought, right? And this is the result of it.
A loud explosion, followed by a massive fire. On the afternoon of July 21st, 2025, the peace over Dhaka's northern Uttara district was violently shattered. A Chinese-made F-7 BGI fighter jet, produced by Chengdu Aircraft Industry Group, crashed into the Milestone School and college's classroom building. 20 lives were lost instantly, and 171 others were injured. This tragic event is just an aviation disaster, but also a grim revelation of the Chinese Communist Party's flawed military ambitions. The disaster unfolded in just 12 minutes. The fighter jet took off at 1:06 p.m. from Kermitola Air Base for a routine training mission. The pilot, Lieutenant Mohammed Taksir Islam Sagar, was following standard procedures. However, just 12 minutes after takeoff, the aircraft began shaking uncontrollably. The landing gear indicator failed. The engine emitted an unusually high-pitched noise, and radar communication was lost. Signs of imminent system failure. The pilot attempted to gain altitude and steer away from populated areas, but with just one engine, the aircraft's options were limited. Tragically, the F-7 BGI, touted as the most advanced model, crashed into the second floor of the Milestone School.
Most advanced, man.
The plane tore through one side of the building and exited through the other, leaving behind a massive hole and starting a fire. The explosion occurred near the Diabari area in Uttara, Bangladesh, close to a subway station and several shops and other residential buildings. At the time of the crash, around 6,000 students were in class, ranging from elementary to high school, and the area was instantly turned into a nightmare. A teacher at the school, Masood Tariq, recalled, "I was walking to the door when I suddenly heard something behind me, followed by an explosion. When I turned around, all I saw was fire and smoke." A 16-year-old student, Rafika Taha, told the Associated Press, saying, "I saw the footage on TV and was terrified. Oh my goodness, that's my school." Flight Lieutenant Mohammed Tokwar Islam Sagar, the pilot of the F-17 BGI fighter jet, died during emergency treatment at the Combined Military Hospital. Among the victims were 46-year-old teacher Maharin Chowdhury and 18 students aged 14 to 18. The remaining 171 injured individuals were mostly children, with burn injuries ranging from 5% to 100%. A total of 83 injured people were sent to major hospitals in the capital for treatment. According to detailed reports from Newsweek, the rescue operation involved 186 firefighters, 8 firefighting units, and combined forces from the Army, Air Force, Police, and Border Guard.
So here's what I'm thinking. So the dude wanted to get to the get to the field, right? Because that's what I'm looking at here. I think he thought, okay, there's an empty field, I'll get to the empty field. But because the Chinese bullshit fucking copy of a US MiG is so shit, and it's like, remember, they said that it's like the top, it's their greatest fucking plane. It's shit that only one engine was working, and he wasn't able to control it to not get to the fucking, to the school. Even because he's trying to get to here, right? That's what I'm thinking, right? He's like, he knows something's going to go, it's going wrong. I get to there, but he can't. So he's not able to control it. You know, by Chinese made.
Firefighters arrived at the scene at 1:22 p.m., responding within 4 minutes. However, it wasn't until 2:45 p.m. that the fire was brought under control. The National Institute of Burn and Plastic Surgery treated 70 injured and 2 deceased. The Combined Military Hospital received 14 injured and 11 deceased, while Uttara Adunik Medical College Hospital treated 60 injured and 1 deceased. The F-7 BGI fighter jet, often touted by the Chinese military as the ultimate version and strongest model of the Chengdu J-7 series, was praised for its advanced technology. According to technical data from Jane's Information Group, the jet measures 14.88 meters in length, with an 8.32 meter wingspan and a maximum takeoff weight of 9,100 kilograms. It features KLJ-6F fire control radar system, fully.
We don't need to know all that shit. All we know is that it's tofu drag bullshit that China made. It says it's the best thing in the world, and it's useless, right? It is. They're dumb. They don't know how to make things, so they copy everybody else's without knowing, without doing the, you know, because they steal everything, right? They steal, like I said, if you can cheat, cheat. That is China's motto, right? That's the #1 rule. That's why they fake everything, because they don't develop anything of their own. And anything they develop of their own is stolen tech or is stolen from each other. As one of the freaking coding guys found out. Like, oh, we developed this AI thing, but like those guys are just stealing it from us. Who I just got in trouble because of that. All right. I was like, if your country, if your people, if your leaders are getting bad with China, might as well dig a hole, man. Get ready, put your body in it. 32 people died. She had 21. Like, now it's like 16 hours ago. Actually, let me see if I can get a latest update, and then we'll finish up on that. So, what is the latest update on? Let me go back up my research notes here. Where are we? Okay, we're talking about the money there. Exchange rates. Where are we? Right. Please give me an update on this. Right. Here we go. All right, let's see. Come on now. Update on the dead and injured in 2025 Bangladesh. F7. There we go. Total deaths, casualties updated. Official reports now confirm 31 fatalities, including the pilot. At least 25 children. And a heroic teacher. Injuries. Around 171 people, mostly students, sustained injuries. Many were with serious burns. 78 remained hospitalized, with approximately 10 in critical. So 10 touch and go. Most of the victims were under 12 years old, highlighting the immense tragedy at a place of learning. Right? This is just another one that China's involved in with tofu drag shit. And we'll be back for part 2 next week. I'm quite busy with working on comic projects. I'm lettering. Actually, I'm producing one on behalf of another writer, and I'm actually coloring 3 comic books. So you're like around about 100 pages of coloring I got to do. So I'm going to be doing this weekly rather than doing every couple of days. So, but I'm also talking about comics and stuff and what we do there creative-wise on the Plunge. Where's that channel? Plunge Comics channel. So if you're into comic books and and that sort of entertainment subjects, that's where you'll find me every other day, as I do some work there, and I do live streams and I talk about stuff like that. But yeah, so that is us there. So please, give us a like on this one, follow whatever, and also sub for the other channel. Really appreciate it. Thank you for hanging out with me. I know it was depressing, but hell, you got to talk about this shit, because if every time there's an accident caused by China, there's 30 people dying, 10 people dying, 100 people are getting injured. Somebody has to talk about this shit, right? It's getting worse. It's not getting better. This is just 3 months ago was a freaking was what we started with, right? The Bangkok building falling down. 8 people died. 81 are missing, which means they're dead, right? So here you got 32 dead in Bangladesh, including mostly under 12 children, right? 25 of them children. So we can't let China get away with this shit. And there's actually a united coalition of countries that are getting together and putting together this court case against China for this. So hopefully, we'll see something go on to that. But like, listen, China doesn't care. They don't care about their own people, so why would they care about our people? All right. Anyway, kakiteano. Have a good week, day, night, evening, wherever you are. We'll catch you on the flip side. And stay loyal to your Monkey King, which is I. And we'll see you. Kakiteano, everybody. Have be well wherever you are.
Nope. Can't stay here anymore. I gotta get back. I think this was the spot. Oh Lord, I beseech thee, please return me to my old life. I swear I'll do anything. Like, literally anything. And I won't bother you again, so pretty please bring me back to life.